This is the Alaskast. I'm Austin Manelick.
And I'm Landon Albertson.
Just a couple average bros trying to be above average. Trying to fill that freezer and make a little less wall space.
But in the end, it's all about the adventure.
This is the Alaskast. We are here today with Gavin Gaffney. He's going to be our guest. Am I saying that right? Gaffney?
Yep.
Okay, Gavin Gaffney. He is one of the admins for the Northern Pike Fishing Alaska Facebook pages and one of our pike fishing experts here. And also we got the host here.
Oh, shoot, I think it's co-host. Yeah, oh man, we got Austin Manelick, Mission Alaska, and over here we got the big Landowski, Prey on Adventure. And I don't even know what number we're on for a podcast, but I think they're getting better. We're dialing it.
We're dialing it in. If you guys have stayed with us this long, we're happy to have you. If you've noticed, the quality might be getting better and better. You know, it's maybe a little rocky at first, but it's a learning process.
We're twerking it. I mean, we're tweaking it.
Dialing.
It's like a dance move.
So, our topic of today is we're going to go over management plans, tips, tricks, all the to-knows about pike here in the great state of Alaska. First, let's start it off with Austin. He's going to give us some little Alaska news.
So right now, we're all aware in this circle that we've got the Board of Fish meetings coming up this weekend. So hopefully this will be up before then, because public testimony from local fishers, such as all of us, are due, or you actually kind of show up in person, Saturday or Sunday. So I'll be doing some public testimony on behalf of myself, but also the advisory committee for the Manelick Valley. And I sit on the, you've been talking me up a little bit, Lanny. You're like, oh, he sits on the advisory committee. Like, well, there's 97 of them across the state. And basically, we will go over these proposals, which I have this proposal book right here in front of me. We go over the proposals. We talk about it. It takes 8, I believe, to make a quorum. And there's, 12, 15 people that sit on that advisory committee. And we will vote, take no action, or basically we'll vote or take no action, depending on how it affects us and our constituents. So
how do you get a proposal into the book first?
Anybody can do that. So on ADF&G, there's a place where you can submit your proposal if you want to see less fishermen on your lake between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Monday through Friday. I see too many people out there. Anybody can put anything in, right? Like, regardless of how ridiculous it is. So there is a checks and balance, which is really cool.
It is, and we should take advantage of that, because there's many states that don't have that opportunity to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. We're lucky to have those opportunities in there.
Yep.
And be able to.
It's like we will vote, and then at all these meetings it's listed for the public, so anybody can come to any advisory committee, anybody can go to any Board of Game meeting if it's listed on the website. But the Board of Fish and the Board of Game will vote however they want. So it's not necessarily, they will take into account what public testimony and then the advisory committees, they'll take into account. They'll take in the Department of Fish and Game's comments, and a few other things. As far as their interest goes, it can be pretty political, because you've got commercial fishermen that are sitting up there.
And they're usually equally represented on the board by everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. which is interesting. Same on the Board of Game side, and you've got big game guides that are up there, depending on the years.
Your average fisherman too. And everybody's up there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so Israel Payton, if you guys know Israel Payton, he's my hero, one of them for sure. Grew up in Squintina, born and raised on the Yentna River, and he is on the Board of Fish.
Was he running for office? Of some kind of office? I could have swore that name sounds familiar, like he was running for office at one point.
He might be. He's diving in. I don't know what all he's got up his sleeve, but I know that he catches big fish. He shoots critters all the time, and he's an Alaskan, right?
Alaskan, yeah.
And he doesn't have any commercial interest in a sense of, hey, if I pass this, that means all of my buddies get to do this. It's like he's the people's champ. Yeah, he doesn't have that, which is really cool. He doesn't have the money incentive.
So all 90 of these committees across the state, they'll take that into account and look at this and go, here's our percentage of what they voted on for this proposal, as far as what you guys were liking and weren't liking in the proposals.
Yeah. So the board of fish. We're diving in. The short news is turning into long news before we get into the pike fishing. But basically, board of fish will take this proposal booklet. They'll take public testimony and then they'll deliberate. And they have all the public's comments. They have all the advisory committee comments. They have the department comments. So they'll review that, and then they will sit up there, all the head honchos, and vote, right? But if you go there, I went there, and I'm like, oh, man, okay, I've got my child, got kid care, I should be doing some work today. And I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, it gets spicy in that room, and there's grown men raising their voice. There's people in the crowd talking loudly, like, keep it down. The state trooper is standing up, and there's small meetings up there. It's like reality TV. It's insane. Like
lots of interest in that room.
Oh man, I'm eating like popcorn, cookies, and coffee. Like, oh, this is awesome, right? It's like a live reality show. So
the juicy stuff.
They do. It's the juice, especially when people's livelihoods, like there's commercial fishermen, sport fishing guides. You have all these interests, and people are like, my livelihood is based on a number of fish coming through here at this time, and I'm going to spend this time away from my family to produce for them, provide for them. So, with that being said, we're on a fish topic tonight, more specifically pike, right? You're the pike legend. So what I have for the short news, which is long news now, is there's several proposals that are coming up. And these proposals, basically, I'll just go to the cheat code here. I got the proposal book. So this is also available to the public, but you're going to have to print it out. I don't know how much.
How many
Is this a PDF online then?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I believe. Actually, I've never found it.
ADFG website?
They say it is.
Oh, you don't know?
They say it. I've heard it.
That could be false
200
information.
pages.
We
Yeah.
don't know.
Sure. Here's the check up on that.
Depends on how much ink you have in your printer.
Right. So check this out. So we've got for the Northern Cook Inlet. We're talking about Northern Cook Inlet. This is stuff that affects us immediately, where we don't have to drive incredibly far to get to, right? These are Northern Cook Inlet sport and personal use subsistence proposals. This one's for northern pike fishery, and that's it allows anglers to use 5 lines when fishing for northern pike through the ice. Why not? So that's proposal 213. Then we have 214, which is prohibit live release of northern pike in the Anchorage Bowl and Kinnick River drainages, which I believe
illegal.
It's already illegal.
Yep.
So I'll pull that up and dive deeper into that. That's just kind of the headline of what we're going. And then the other two, this one's a biggie, and this one's really cool. It's proposal 239, and that's establish personal use gillnet fishery, pike fishery in the Matanuska Valley, and then there's another personal use northern gillnet fishery in the Susitna drainage. So all these have to do with pike, and there's another really cool one, which is the lower Susitna personal use dip net fishery. So basically, proposal 234 through 238. They're setting up a personal use fishery in the Susitna River drainage, right? So I'll dive into that one first, then we can go into all these pike nuances. But what this salmon proposal is for is to make a dip net fishery, so people like us don't have to go down to the Kenai, the Kasilof, Copper to go and catch our fish, right? So currently in the Susitna River drainage, 96% of all the sockeye caught, 96% is caught by commercial fishermen.
That's absolutely
That's insane.
insane, unbelievable.
And it's pretty tough for us to go out there and be like, oh, let's go and catch our 3 salmon. Let's go catch our 3 salmon in the boat, go all the way down to the Yentna, go up and try to catch. It's not very cost effective to go and catch 3 salmon, right? So as far as filling our freezers, they're still reaching escapement goals.
So for the people that don't know what dip netting is, I know we're in a group of Alaskans here, but there might be people that don't know what dip netting is. What's dip netting?
So dip netting,
Personal use dip net.
a personal use dip net is for individuals. I believe you're allowed 25 fish per head of household, and then is it
after.
10 after for each individual family member, and you have there's a net restriction, right?
Yep. I think it's 5 feet.
5 feet, and then I believe it's different in different places,
Okay.
right?
Yep,
But
maybe.
I'm not exactly sure. That's
Yeah.
where I'm like, hey, I won't BS you too hard, but
Right.
you don't have an unlimited size net, and
yeah.
you can't throw out like the commercial fishermen do. You can't throw out, I don't know, fathoms. Is it a fathom?
With the set nets, I'm not really sure how they rate those.
What's the
honestly.
length?
It is every 10 feet, though. So there's probably the fathom is every 10 feet, I believe.
So yeah, they've got. I mean, these nets can be anywhere from 10 to 100
Miles.
feet. Yeah, to and beyond, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the fishery, depending what's happening, they are targeting an incredible amount of fish.
Lots
With
of
dip
bycatch.
net, yeah, a lot of bycatch, and they don't necessarily.
We don't get bycatch when you're dip netting unless maybe it's a flounder, right? So,
Right. Well, and then I could talk about the trawlers, and the trawlers just scooping the bottom of the ocean and
Yep.
absolute killing machines. And where are the king salmon going? Where am I going? Squirrel,
I had a buddy
just
put it
going
best one
deep here.
time, and he said that if there was somebody out in the Amazon that had a big net and they were scooping up dozens and dozens of different kinds of animals off the prairie, and the ones that we didn't need were just getting tossed to the side, and people saw this, they wouldn't allow it to continue to happen. But because it's in the ocean and we're not seeing the damage that we're causing firsthand, they just let it keep going and going and going. And
Right. So this is where I'm trying to rein myself back in here. I say squirrel because I'm like going off on a king salmon tangent. Yeah, so you got trawl. I mean, there's so many different issues, and where do we even really begin? We're talking about pike fishing and short news, but now it's just rolling into this is what we're talking about. So the trawlers, yeah, they will scoop Mother Earth and the oceans and turn them upside down. And when you catch a fish, the chances of survival are slim to none. They get rolled up in hundreds of thousands of pounds of fish, right? And you're going to say, oh, let's just kick this bycatch off. Yep, sorry, that wasn't our target fish. But we're talking that's federal fishing, right? And that's like been a big problem in some of the arguments as far as the
whole other can of worms.
yeah, as far as the federal waters between Canada, Alaska, and China. Now, let's boil it down to commercial fishing. Commercial fishing.
International.
You've got in our waters, the state of Alaska. You have your commercial fishing, drift net fleet, and then your set net fleet. Right, the drifters are out in the boats. They let out the net. They're moving in the water with their boats. They catch their fish. They take them back. Set nets are on the beach. They're setting out long nets off the beach with smaller crafts and smaller boats, and then they pull their fish in, and they're right there on the beach. Personal use fishing with dip nets are 3 to 5 foot hoops, and you're either drifting in a boat in a river trying to catch fish, then pull them into the boat. 1 to I don't know what the record is. 5 maybe going into a net when it's really good,
Like
but
doubles, triples is your biggest.
yeah, doubles.
Yeah.
Like I've had a triple, and I'm like,
this
oh,
is awesome.
this is awesome, right? But I've also had days where I fish 13 hours straight and didn't catch a single thing, from the shore and then from the boat. So that's your personal use fishery. And where this all kind of comes in is the Valley is proposing, the Matanuska Valley Advisory Committee is proposing a personal use fishery below the main stem of the Susitna River so that we can have an opportunity to go and dip net some fish and fill our freezers without having to go down to the copper, risk your life in a boat, which
scale a mountain to get down to it or cliff.
Risk your life, to hang on the side of it. Yeah, which is, I believe, Copper River is one of the most deadly rivers in
1 or 2 people die a year down there.
right in North America, at least. We got the fabulous Jen over here. She's doing some fact checking. We'll get back to the copper. So, on the Cook Inlet fishery here, we're trying to share an equitable resource, right? Or like make the resource more equitable for more individuals. So we're still reaching an escapement goal, but to go down there and catch 3 salmon and come home, it's not necessarily a freezer filling opportunity. We've got Fish Creek where we can go down and go and dip net, and for a long time that was great. It still is hit or miss every few years, as I understand it. And usually those fish come in when the Cook Inlet fishers, the commercial fishers, don't have their nets in the water and a big school sneaks by.
You get a lot of silvers in those batches, and I'm not a fan of silvers. I'd rather go dip net sockeyes personally.
Right. And what I've had several guys comment, the comm fishermen, is sport fishers apparently have allocative priority on king salmon and silver salmon. And that's their sticking point. And it's like, well, where are the kings? And we like to eat kings and we like to eat sockeyes. So that's why there's a big proposal going in right now for the personal use fishery. And this is sitting under drainage. That's a big one.
I like that one. I 100% support that.
It'd be awesome, right? We all get in the boats, you go down, and it's not like a free-for-all. This isn't like, hey, this is open all summer.
Yep. After escapement, right times.
And they're doing a test run. It's very minimal. So it's going to be hard to even go down there and go and catch them. But once it's established, it's like, okay, wow, this is happening. Just like the fish wheels, like last year, the fish wheels on the Yetna, right? That's been there for a while, but
you have to have money to get into those kind of situations with those. I mean, anybody that I know that has a fish wheel, they own a company, it's been passed down in their family, they have money, it's been set up for them kind of thing. It's very hard for a Joe Schmo to go down there and get into that. It's almost impossible.
I went out there on the Yetna and tried to build one. We got like, with the Paytons. I went and I'm like, I got to check this out, this fishery on the Yetna. And I want to get in on it because Joe Schmo can go and do it, but it costs a lot of money. You're jet boating all day to get there. You got the materials to get there. And then you try to set up a fish wheel with hand tools.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're like, okay. I mean, I was with some Skookum Alaskans, right? So they had it dialed, and we were out there at a cabin, and they had already had another one out there. Sure, you could drag one out in the winter, but that's really tough to do, right? You're not your average bro can go do that. Same thing with a copper. You can't just set up a fish wheel and say, yep, I got one. It takes a lot of work, effort, energy.
It's a brutal river, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's just very tough. It's very, very, very tough to do. And this personal use would allow individuals to go down there and dip net out of a boat. Dip net from shore. That's a personal use fishery. Now, that being said, I'm going to go and give some testimony. Obviously, I can't articulate my points like I need to because I only have 3 minutes to do it. And I can't just be like, I like salmon.
Oh, is it time to 3 minutes? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for the advisory committee head, so that's Herb Mansavage, he'll have 10 minutes. So he'll be able to talk on it.
So it wouldn't hurt to have a group of guys that are passionate in the same topic go down there and back each other up one in a row.
Absolutely. Yep. So
span your 3 minutes out. Yeah.
If you're free, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to go in Sunday morning. So I actually wrote down on a little blue card, and if you guys are interested, you got to have a little blue card. You fill it out, and you do a time slot, so you don't have to go and spend your whole weekend waiting to talk.
How do people find out on days, or how does the general public know that this stuff's going on all the time, or people that are interested in it? Like me, myself, I love fishing, I love all that. How do I know when all this stuff's going to go on in the future?
ADFG does a newsletter. So if you get signed up to that newsletter, a lot of the stuff goes out in that newsletter. Mm-hmm. And they'll send you emails when all these changes happen.
And when the comments are due by, or the sign up is due by, and then it's all available, of course, at adfng.com.
So the BOF is what, every 3.5 years? Every 3 years they meet, something around there, the BOF? Like every 3 or 3.5 years, and there's deadlines when you can submit proposals for things to change. And
I should know that.
Yeah.
So to be honest, I should know that.
I don't. I'm not going to lie.
I'm kind of like, just tell me when I need to be there. I'll make it happen. That's the same thing with like my interest. Obviously, I'm blabbering about fish. I like to catch salmon. okay? But I really like to hunt big game animals. So I'm really passionate about that.
So sometimes you're sleeping when they're talking about salmon or dreaming about big game hunting. Is that what I'm hearing?
I might be scrolling the gram. Guilty.
As soon as they say doll sheep, then Austin wakes up.
What?
All right, here we go.
Sheep?
Or I'll just act like I'm not listening and just take it in.
Just absorb.
People, yeah. What is he talking about? He's talking about mountains and white things.
All right, how's our AK short news?
Okay, so let's get back really quick. All right,
Gotta watch this guy.
All right, basically, I don't really even.
I
need
don't
to
know
look
why
at
we put
these.
him on the short news
Oh
segment.
God, it's the long news. What am I
The long
doing?
news. I like it.
Okay, so we got the 5 lines through the ice. Cool.
And so the 5 lines on the ice, and a lot of people are confused about that. I just want to touch base on that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think the entire valley is 5 lines, and it's specific to lakes. So the only lakes that I know of that are 5 lines, they just emergency ordered Kings Lake because they're going to kill it off in Anderson. Figure 8, Flathorn, and I believe Nancy and Big Lake. So, and then also the connecting lakes to Nancy, like Red Shirt, Lynx, those lakes are also 5 line. The other lakes that are surrounding Figure 8 are technically 2 line lakes. And so what they want to do is they want to make it every lake that's in the valley a 5 line lake. Okay. And I don't know many troopers that enforce that law. It's one of those things where you're going to have to come across a trooper that may enforce it, may not enforce it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, and with me, I'm always like, I don't want to play a gray area. Like I got one
Right.
line. Okay, I'll be the guy that doesn't catch anything.
But you
right?
find there's lots of gray areas with pike enforcement, and it's really weird why they do that. And you really got to watch yourself and how you approach those situations because some troopers really hit you for anything they can.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely get that.
So 5 lines means you could have 5 fishing poles, or you could have 5 tip-ups.
Now, there's some gray area here also. I just called ADF&G the other day, actually, because I spear, and I want to have 5 tip-ups, and I want to have a spear line. Now, there are arguments between ADF&G, the people amongst there that make those rules. Now, is a line that has just a decoy on there, is that considered one of your lines because it's an attractive line? They haven't decided on that yet. So to be safe, I would suggest if you're spearing, you have 1 spear hole with an attractive line, like a decoy, and you have 4 tip-up lines.
Gotcha.
Just to be safe.
If you pretty much have 4 lines in the water.
5 lines.
5 lines in the water.
And if you're on lakes like Big Lake or Nancy, they have hook restrictions on the sizes that you're using, and you can't cut your bait.
Yeah. So key here is before you go fishing,
read your
check
check your regs.
Check the regs.
And if you're not sure, call ADF&G. They're always willing to answer your questions. I call them once a month. With questions, yeah.
That was one of the first things I talked about when I first really started going out. Didn't have a mentor, or my dad or father to take me out. I'm learning all this stuff. I was pretty intimidated about going in to talk to ADF&G or calling a state trooper. Now I'm like, okay, Palmer, hey Siri, call Palmer ADF&G.
Right.
And you're like, oh wow, okay. And the more you become friends with them and in there, you're like, oh wow.
I've gone fishing with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just normal people. They got a job to do.
They're flicking out hot tips left and right. You're like,
right.
Oh, yeah. Talk to me.
The friends you've always wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the real hot tip of this podcast for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Make friends with ADF&G and go in there and.
When all this new stuff's popping up, like the Alexander bounty list, I knew about that a week before everybody else did because I've talked to the ADFG regularly, and they're more than willing to give you information to help you out. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So, now, speaking of ADF&G, we've got some proposals, these other two, about the pike, right, where it's set up a personal use gillnet pike fishery in the Matanuska Valley, subsistence pike, personal use pike, so people can eat them, feed them to their dogs, etc. But they've got to be 15 to 20 feet in length, and all pike lakes or suspected lakes, no limit, all fish must be kept. So that's that one. And then we'll dive into this because there's some nuance. I don't even like saying that. It feels naughty saying nuance, but I'm saying it. And so there's and then this next one is create a personal use pike gillnet fishery, and this is sitting there drainage as follows. So basically this one's setting up this next one. So they're talking about certain areas. ADF&G is saying, hey, these king salmon, they may not be coming back because of a few different factors. Pike are one of them. And one of their comments, because ADF&G will also release their comments online before it even gets to the actual
BOF meeting.
yeah, BOF
Yeah.
meeting. Thank you.
Board of Fisheries.
Board of Fish. Thank you. They'll say something about it. So basically, they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to do something about the pike incentives," and we've got a whole podcast outlining this for you to dive into. But their comment was, "Well, there's going to be bycatch in some of these sloughs." It's like, okay, there's got to be a way to be able to target the pike and catch them, whether it's personal use, subsistence, maybe even cast nets. Maybe they can do a change to this. The Board of Fish can actually, because they can say, oh, ADF&G said this, but we're actually going to vote this way. They don't have to go ADF&G way. They make their own decision. So that's what's going on there. They did not like this because there was going to be bycatch, and it's like, well, all right, let's talk about this. Maybe at least make an opportunity to catch more pike.
What's bycatch?
So the bycatch would be catching non-target species. So the bycatch, they're worried about rainbow trout, they're worried about salmon, they're worried about all the species of salmon. I mean, the sucker fish are, sucker fish. But
so that means.
Well, and the funny thing about suckerfish is, though, even though they're not a very valued fish, they're still considered a game fish in the Matsu Valley, and they have a limit on them. So unfortunately, they're not a fish that you can spear or just throw away. But I really think that when it comes to the pike and the gill netting, and to make that something that they'd want to go for, would be targeting areas that are pike only. So, like we were discussing, areas that are been completely wiped out by pike, there is no other fish to be considered a bycatch fish.
Right.
So I think that would be a better way to go about wording that. But then you're getting into specifics like, do you want to do a 15-mile radius from this area? How to word it, it gets really, really tricky there, because a lot of these lakes that have just pike in them are unnamed.
Right.
Yep. So I think there's 2 lakes out in the main area of Point McKenzie where a lot of these pikes are a problem. That's by the Little Sioux, and there's Flathorn and Figure 8. Every lake surrounding is completely an unnamed lake, so it'd have to be coordinates the way that it's worded.
And then good luck figuring out
Right.
how to get to these lakes.
Get to these
They're a
lakes.
Great area.
And that's
now.
the second problem. You get somebody who doesn't know where they're going, and that's the main reason I started that pike page, is I wanted to get people on these fish that don't know where they're going and safely to do it,
Right. And we want to we're going to dive into that heavily. So this is kind of the conclusion of the short news, because obviously we got to talk about these.
Quote, unquote, short news.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
30 minutes later. So basically, where I'm going with the end of this last one is, if you allow, and you're trying to say, let's get rid of these pike because they're basically eating our salmon, and it's not just going to individual lakes where the pike are at. And now there is an incentive to catch these pike, whether it's commercial, subsistence, personal use. You might have an incentive to release them and keep them there.
And that's exactly why ADFG's had a problem with bounty programs in the past, because you get these guys that want to farm pike essentially to make money, and they don't. So I think that's why they went the route with Alexander, to where they're going to do so many fish that are tagged instead of every fish is worth money, because then it makes it a little bit harder to farm fish essentially. And
Okay. So
So what Gavin's talking about is ADF&G put specific markers inside fish, and if an angler catches that fish, they turn it into ADF, Alaska Department of Fish and Game.
gets tagged, you get a $100 gift card.
$100 gift card.
Yep.
So if
So
it's
they
got
tagged
that-
100 fish in a specific lake, and this is just a start to this program. We can get into that later too.
Yeah.
And it's a
We're
really
kinda-
cool
we're
program.
kinda
It's a start. It's not to eradicate the fish, but it's just another program in these areas that they can't know, to where they want to basically give an incentive to try and fish these areas out and make them a little more depleted.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So one of my very first pike fishing adventures ever was, my dad was famous for the cast and blast, right? So I was really into fishing. My brother was really into hunting, and we'd go to Kodiak and go do a salmon fishing,
I love Kodiak.
steelhead,
Yeah.
and then we'd fly over and go do goat. Another story, another day. But he took us out to go do something similar on Alexander. And we went out there, and I remember even back then, there used to be king salmon there. There used to be salmon
It's a
Now,
really good salmon hatchery back in the day. Yeah.
back in the day, now you go there and fishing on the dock. I caught like 6 pike for 6 casts from the dock from like the lodge there at the mouth.
I hear guys go in the summertime. It's just cast after cast after cast fish.
Insane
Yeah.
fishing.
Yep.
So that's one
Big
of these.
lake too, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So this is now that's a little bit further out for your average bro to get to, and this
51 miles, I think, from Deshka.
is right. But at the same time, a lot of average bros are getting out there, and this is the whole Alaskast is your average guys, gals trying to be above average, right? And like going to these places, you're like, well, I've never been there, but I hear there's $100 gift card per tag pike. Let's do it.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I've just been seeing the message boards popping and people wanting to plan trips since that's been put out there, and it's only $100. It's going to cost you several to get out there, like.
Get back. And you got to plan it. Winter's brutal. Getting out there, snow machine breakdown. It's about the adventure. Getting out there. Well, did you catch any pike? Well, we almost made it there. It turned into a little bit of a rescue situation,
Right.
but we had a good time. Yeah,
That's half my trips to fishing. Yeah.
right. Yeah. And hunting. Oh gosh.
It just adds that trophy value of catching one that's worth something.
Yep.
That's what the incentive for people to get out there. That's pretty cool. But speaking of news, I have this article from Outdoor Frontier.
Frontiersman.
The Frontiersman.
This is way back time machine.
Let's see how far back. June 12th, 2007. This is the name of the article. Palmer angler slays monster. Bow hunter isn't giving up his secret spot.
So, I will give up. I'm giving it up.
Oh my gosh.
I'm giving it up.
Exclusive news here. This is a breakthrough. This guy is giving up his secret spot. So tune in.
Yeah, so basically there is a little bit of an editor's note here, and the story goes, I was with my day one, like my best friend of all time, Brian Peters. And Brian and I at like a soccer banquet. Like the guy at the lake, he lives on the lake. And I'll get to the name of the lake. You guys have fished there. For sure. You've been there. You'll tell me all the juicy spots there. So basically, we see these pike, and there's Alex Lund. And his dad says, yeah, I got some rods. Go for it. So we spent a half afternoon after a soccer banquet for Timu Mackey. Timu Mackey is a foreign exchange student at Alex Lund's house. We all go over there for like a soccer banquet. And we ended up getting on these aqua bikes, where you're on a bike, it's got the 2 pontoons, you're paddling around, and we said, yeah, we don't even care about the soccer banquet, we're going fishing, right? So we're out there, and we catch a few, and Brian and I see an absolute monster. I'm like, oh, that's a log. I'm like, oh, that is a fish, and it's a monster. And then Brian said he saw another one, so we were trying to snag it. They weren't biting, and we're trying to snag these things, right? And basically, he was like, hey, you guys can come back whenever. We're like, okay, we'll be back. We caught a couple small ones, but we always had this monster in mind. And Brian said he saw another one. There was like this, it looked like a cutting board color, that just like a musky brown. And then one was like teal, like the color of this, green, this Elysian space dust character. Like, they're just different, right? And so we came back, and I was like, you know what? They weren't biting. I've got a bow fishing setup that I've never used. I don't know why my mom got me it for Christmas, but I'm going to set it up. So I set it up, and we start going, and we never found the fish, but I was learning how to shoot them, kept shooting long, and finally started spearing them, and he was catching them all with the rod and reel, and basically just became obsessed. And one night we went, the temperature heated up, the water dropped a little bit, and all of a sudden, the monster appears. We're like, oh, it's gonna happen. And Brian's trying to cast, trying to catch him with a treble hook, like in a spinner,
He's big for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see where he's going on the hydro bike, and I kind of get out in front because he's tracking it. and he swims right
So
out
are
in
you on
front of
the?
me.
You're on the bank.
No, I'm on the hydro
Oh,
bike
you're on another
with
bike.
my bow,
Okay.
right? My recurve, the first bow I ever had.
So you're doing like a little deer push.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. He's trying to catch it, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, "Don't shoot it! Don't shoot it!" He's yelling at me because he wants to catch it rod and reel. I'm like, "He's not biting! He's not biting!" And and he comes by, and I pull back, and I shoot, and I miss, and he's like, he says a couple of, things that, some profanity that kids would definitely say when adults
Sinner.
aren't around, just screaming it, and I miss. I shoot over it, but I know I'm like, I gotta shoot way low. So I reel it up. It's on a spool, reel it up. I'm like, oh yes, okay. I didn't shoot the arrow off the end, because sometimes it snaps and you lose I lost a bunch of fiberglass arrows in that lake. So Brian gets around and you're like, where is it? Where is it? Like, he's over there. So Brian circles around. Brian's got another shot at him. He's casting, he's snapping, he's trying to snag this thing because they're not biting. It ain't biting. And I saw where he was going, and I circled back around. Brian's like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And that thing came right at me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is it. Bull draw. I lean over and just let her fly. And that hits this pike in the eye. It goes out his gills and just stones him. He rolls belly up. I'm like, I got him. I'm screaming. In my mind, the crowd goes wild. Everybody around the lake screaming, but they're probably all saying, hey, shut up. Keep it down. It's 11 o'clock at night, June. And Brian was not very happy that I shot him with the bow, and it's still like a point of contention. And it's kind of funny. That red arrow, I'll send him the article every once in a while. And then, this is kind of, oh God, this is funny. So the frontiersman, the photo before social media started getting sent around, the frontiersman calls me and they're like, hey, can we publish this article about you catch the fish? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Because
But
like
I'm not
a
gonna talk
crowd
about it.
like gathered around you, right? Because
Oh,
you
yeah.
had this ginormous.
Well, we started telling everybody like there was a big fish there, right? And all the buddies started getting text messages back on like the Razor flip phone, or maybe it's even the Nokia, and the whole soccer team, everybody was a part of it. Like, everyone started coming. And I'd say the whole soccer team. Maybe there was like a fistful of dudes. I'm making it bigger in my mind, I'm like, this thing was 25 pounds. I keep looking. I'm like, well, maybe it was like 19. Maybe it was 50 inches. No, more like 42, right? It's a fish story.
Fish
So,
stories.
the funny thing about it is they ended up publishing the article. And in the article, Brian Peters took the picture. And the article says, photo provided by Austin Manelick. He's like, I didn't even get photo credit. What the heck, So this day.
But he didn't get to catch a fish, didn't get credit for the picture, wasn't even involved.
Wasn't even there. So I got to come good on that. And now that's the big story of. And
40-inch for pike.
I think it was
20
42.
pounders, 42 incher.
It was a lunker.
And let's get down.
You want to know the spot?
Where's the spot?
The spot. You know where the spot is, I'm sure. We're looking at the picture. So you're talking about King Lake earlier. It's not King Lake, though. It's right next to King Lake.
Anderson?
It's Anderson Lake.
Yeah, there's some big fish in there.
Yep. And
there was some big fish in there.
There was some big fish in there. So it's funny now. Mr. Lund, Alex, and his little brother picked up on the bow fishing because they would fly fish a lot, catch them from the dock. And he's like, I'm gonna go out there, and he's just starting to stone them with the recurve, the bow fishing setup. So, but the reason I'm giving that up and talking about it, one, because it's live, or this isn't live, so we can edit this out if need be. But also, two, I believe this is where we're diving in with Gavin about what is happening with this lake being killed off, right? Like, so this lake, they're going to nuke it, right? Essentially, they're going to kill everything in this lake. So basically,
even the bugs, whatever lives in there, yep. Anything that uses oxygen and lives in that lake is going to die.
And so those pike were not their native. Those pike were introduced by somebody. And they eventually grew to, some of them monstrous sizes. So
what really surprises me, what year did you catch that pike?
That was 2007, says our.
So 2007, that pike that you caught's probably at least a 20-year-old plus fish at that size.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that fish has been in there since 87. I mean, that's insane to think. I mean, that's a long time that fish has been in there.
Oh,
and
wow.
it
I
hasn't
didn't
gotten
know
into
they lived
Cottonwood
that long.
Creek. It's a long
Yeah.
time. And I caught a 40-incher out of Kings Lake in 2017, and it was 16 pounds. Yeah, and it was a beautiful big fish. We actually released it. I couldn't kill it. I'm not gonna lie, which is legal to release in that lake currently.
Hopefully
and
the statutes of limitations is off on that.
right, and my neighbor caught it a year and a week later to the day,
Wow. Same
and
guy.
it grew 3 inches.
What date?
Huh?
What date and how big was he when your neighbor
So when I caught him, it was 2017, December 25th. When my neighbor caught him, it was 2018, the day after New Year's. So like
you're through the ice.
through the ice, yeah,
Okay.
on a tip-up line, and it's insane pulling a fish like that up
Oh
through an
my
8-inch
gosh, I
hole.
couldn't even imagine.
Absolutely insane. I mean, I actually had to stick my arm down there just to turn him because we're in 4 feet of water. You know, he's almost as long as it is from the ice to the ground. So we're trying to turn him to get him up the hole, and that's the hardest part when you get a fish that big under the hole. I think 10 inches is the way to go when you're fishing pike.
How?
I literally had to stick hand down the hole, pulling with one on the line, and then I'm pushing on his gut with my other hand to basically straighten him up so that he would come straight up the hole. Now I hear they're making a new device that almost works like a weed whipper would. Is you stick it down your hole, you engage it, and it's going to whip at a like 90-degree angle, and it's going to bevel out the bottom of your hole. So that when these fish hit that hole, they scoop right up it. Instead of a lot of these times, these edges of the holes will cut your line. believe it or not.
Uh-huh. So that's my other question. I wouldn't. Yeah. I'm so glad that when I shot that pike, he rolled belly up.
You have him dead immediately. There's no fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was dead. But reaching your hand down there, the 20-pound fish. I mean, even a salmon. You know, even like
Right.
king salmon or the salmon, you get a hold of it. They're strong. They're ripping you. Pike have an incredible amount of teeth, and like I may not have the fuzz and the peaches to, go down and get this monster.
I'm not gonna lie, I
fish.
was a little nervous. And something a lot of people don't know is pike actually have gilled teeth, or teeth that are gilled. Or gills, I'm sorry, gills that have teeth in them. So when you go underneath their lip and you try to get underneath their gill plate, you're going to be hitting teeth that's edged across every single one of them plates. So you have to hit them just right. Or I messed my hand up pretty good when I got them and I pulled them up. But it's like one of those things where your adrenaline's going. You're not going to lose that
don't even
20-pound
know.
fish.
Yeah, you don't even
No,
know.
it's the biggest fish I'd ever caught. And I'm like, I ain't losing this thing. It ain't going to happen.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, and it was like the last tip up of the day. We were actually pulled our ice shack down, pulled all the other tip ups. There was like 3 lines left, and we were walking to grab it, and it popped. And it's like, so ever since that moment, I've always learned to stay into that last little bit of light because you never know what's going to come along and hit your lines. And you spend 8 hours on the ice, why not spend one more and have a chance to get in that big fish?
One last cast.
Right, one last cast, man.
One more hour.
That's my famous last words.
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's about, man.
It really is.
That's not just fishing. You're like, oh, one more cast. It just turned into an hour of one more cast. And you're just frenzied. That's how I feel with hunting a lot, where it's one more ridge, 10 more minutes. And if you've hunted with me or spent time with me, they're like, yeah, I was ready. And then Manelick said, 10 more minutes. 9 minutes and 59 seconds in, boom, spotted a monster bull. It's like, okay, that works, It's just persistence and staying out there and believing it's going to happen. So, without going too deep into that, how'd you catch him? Real quick.
That was a tip up in herring.
In herring.
Yep, and so it was just hand lining them in, and I knew immediately when you have a fish that big on, it's just you're pulling a log through the water. You can feel it, and believe it or not, I've learned that when you're catching pike, the bigger fish are a lot less of a fight. The smaller ones are the ones that take off and rip your line and just act like a bat out of hell. But it seems like the big guys are the ones that are really docile, and when they get up against the side of the ice before you work them up the hole, they're really, really docile. They kind of just chillax.
Oh, really?
Yep, the bigger guys do. Same with when they hit your line. So now when you walk up on a tip up and you got that spin going on.
So you got to explain what a tip up.
So a tip up is, imagine a piece of wood with basically a flag attached to it that goes to a metal spool, and the spool is connected to some line. And when that line gets hit, it rips the flag up, and when it rips the flag up, that it allows it to keep spinning. So you're basically on a free spool. So once it's going, it gives you time to get to the fish, and then you have to set the line yourself. So generally, they're going to be running with a piece of bait in their mouth. And the trick is with pike is they like to grab, stop, chew, run, stop, chew, run, stop, chew. They do this several times before they actually inhale their meal. So the trick is knowing how many times they've stopped and trying to actually just have that patience to wait them out so they have time to get it in their gullet so you can actually set a hook. I can't tell you how many times I've set lines. I just rip it right out of their mouths.
So it's not like a bass where it's like...
Well, they just suck it all up. No, you would
in.
think it would be too, and sometimes it is. You know, they have some pretty big mouths, and they can ingest some pretty big food too. And I've caught in pike with extremely large other pike inside their bellies. Which you wouldn't believe that they could swallow something that size.
That was with the hammer that I caught. I mean, he had, it was a 40 some odd inch fish. I can't remember. I could say it's 50 because now we're just, it's a fish story, right? But, I mean, he had, I believe, a 20-inch fish in his stomach, like half his size. And there was a couple smaller one in there. My question real quick on this monster, how did your buddy know that it was the same fish? Did you take pictures? How do you know?
So, interesting story on that. A week before I caught it, I tried to spear it in my spear hole, and I missed him, but I grazed him, and he still has the spear marks on his back.
Oh, wow.
So on top of that, a week before my buddy caught him the second time, I lost him at the hole, but I had caught him in the top of his head. So I use predator rigs, and a predator rig is 2 treble hooks into the same piece of bait. And usually when you rip these treble hooks, one will go into the mouth and one will get them on their body somewhere, generally. And so what happened was I had him in the mouth, and then I had him in the top of the head. So a week later, my buddy catches him in the same area on a tip-up, and sure as shit, there's the hole on the top of his head from the week prior, and then there's the marks on his back from my spear the year prior.
So wow. This guy's all Gavin tattooed up.
It was just one of those things, man, where I'm actually getting him mounted right now. I have him coming in the mail here in probably about 6 months. He should be on the way here.
Oh, wow.
But it's just one of those things where I'm more about mounting stories, not fish. So this fish is just really connected to me, and that's why I let him go, because I missed him with the spear. I've had run-ins with him several times throughout, fishing on that lake, and we had a connection.
Did your buddy let him go?
He did not.
He kept him?
Nope, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bitter about that for a little while. I'm not going to lie.
So, all right. So with this, you're dry snitching. You did something, kind of illegal because you let him go.
Well, technically in that body of water, it's not illegal to let him go.
Right. All right. So we'll dive into that as well. Yeah. But I think it's awesome when you're like, it's totally worth it. I have history with this guy.
Yeah.
He's my friend.
Yep.
But also, did you catch him in the mouth first, or did you miss him with the spear
Missed him with the spear first. That was my first encounter with him. And the crazy story about it is I was by myself, and I rarely go fishing by myself. I like to go fishing with people. Mm-hmm. Nobody believed me. Calling up friends. I just missed a 40-plus inch fish. This thing was huge. It was the biggest fish I've ever seen in a spear hole, and I just got giddy and threw way too soon. And I knew that I just nicked him because he did this turn, and I could tell that I just barely got him. Mm-hmm. And so when I caught him a week later, I saw he had the spear marks. That's when I let him go. Then a year later, almost to the day actually, I caught him again in the head, lost him at the hole. Yeah, we actually have it on video. It's on my Pike page where he's at the hole, and we just see him, and then he takes off, and then I lose him. And then a week after that, my buddy caught him on a tip-up, and he grew from 39 3/4 inches to 43 inches in a year and a week.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew 3 inches. That lake's only got a few sucker here or there for a population, maybe some sticklebacks. Other than that, it's a pretty big, significant growth for a year, I think, for a pike.
Yeah, because I was reading in the article, every 0.1 pound that a fish eats or gains, he has to eat 5 pounds of fish or 5 pounds of food to get that 0.1 pound.
Wow.
I was reading that
That's insane.
Yeah. So they're just munching. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, we haven't. What is the name of your page? So people
Northern Pike, Alaska.
Northern Pike, Alaska. Are you on? You're on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook. We got 3,100 members. We do meet and greets. My main goal is just to kind of get people out to these areas like we were discussing that people don't know about or may be intimidated to get to. I'm actually holding a meet and greet February 15th to one of those areas out of Figure 8. It's kind of 16 miles off the beaten path. So it's nice to go with a group of people that know their way so you don't get lost.
Now, are you on? Yeah, absolutely, Mike. That's one thing. I check it at the door, man. How many copies can you have? I focus. I obsess over hunting, but I'm a closet fisherman. I'm a little bit fish curious. Just saying. But getting out there in the winter to go do these things.
Get off the couch.
Oh, yeah, it's substantial, right?
Yeah, well, the reason why I did the page, and I did an event about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks, about a month ago now, and I had a 65-year-old plus gentleman show up, and he'd brand new machine, brand new gear, never been fishing before out for pike, and just like set me up. I'm new, I want to do this. I'm like, all right, dude, let's go. Set him up, and he landed the first fish. And when I saw that gentleman jumping up and down with his hands up in the air, just screaming, and people were cheering him on, I was like, I was watching a 12-year-old boy. I was like, I gave that 65-year-old man a 12-year-old feeling again. It was just made my day, man. I saw that, and I was like, all right, anything else can happen. This event was worth it, Oh, he was so happy. So getting people that don't usually catch these kind of fish on these fish, just it makes my day. That's reason why I do what I do. And I love getting people out onto a new, like you said, it's really hard to get off the couch in Alaska in the wintertime. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's dark. I mean, what are we doing being Alaska?
Depressing, yeah. You get off, you go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark. It's like
But my big saying is you miss the $100 bills flying over your head if you're picking up the pennies, right? So like if you're just hanging out, like, oh, let me wait till the summer, you're not going to be rich. So it's like getting out and going and doing these things.
Same with experiences, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you are on Facebook. Are you on Instagram? Do you have a blog?
Not on Instagram, no blog, just Facebook for right now. I've debated doing a YouTube channel. That way I can try and get people that even physically want to go out and still can't do it, try to get them that feeling and see what we do.
Well, I've got a feeling maybe we could do a collab, and go out and you can teach us the ways. Well, you probably already know the way, and me, yeah, man, I need some help.
Yeah,
for sure.
Get you guys out. It'd be fun.
We would do a little YouTube maybe that could jumpstart your idea, kind of showing. Because me and Austin, we dabble. I like to say we're the okayest Alaskan YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got the tech side of it. I don't have that.
So we could help you along in that way.
We can get you going.
I like it.
Let's kind of go on. We've been talking about pike. We've been talking about fishing for them, catching them, stories. But what about those people that don't really know what a pike is, really know that how they got here? Why does ADFG have a problem with them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many people like to catch them. I personally rather catch a pike any day than a little 10-inch landlocked salmon, but ADFG has this problem with it. Those type of people that don't really know why that happens. So, northern pike, they are native in Alaska. Up north.
Yep. So they're native up past the range over towards Fairbanks area. So once you get past the range on our side, they're not native. And what happened was, as far as the ADF&G can tell us, because we don't have much of a historic record past the 50s in Alaska, but apparently they were landlocked in a lake called Bulchitna. So Bulchitna was just a landlocked lake that these guys that were guiding out in Alaska in the early 50s and 60s, right when we got statehood.
59, baby.
Yep, 59. So before statehood, actually, the early 50s, when we first got up here and were homesteading, these guys brought these pike from the Alaska range. Some say Minto Flats. We don't really know where they came from, but they were brought up illegally in float planes, dropped off into Bulchitna, and then we had a really bad flooding year. Now, when it flooded, they tried their hardest to dam up that lake, and they used heavy equipment, all sorts of stuff. The flooding got them in from Bulchitna into the Little Sioux. When they got into the Little Sioux and the Yetna, I mean, those connect into dozens of lakes out there, and dozens of lakes into Alexander, into Figure 8 into Flathorn, and Flathorn connects to
Just
Fish Creek, which connects to,
interconnections of sloughs.
it's just
rivers,
slough after
creeks.
slough.
Yep.
And if you look at an aerial map out there, it's just insane. Every 5 feet there's a slough, it looks like, or a little creek or some kind of body of water. And if you fish pike as well as I do, you know these things are really resilient. I mean, you can have them knocked out dead on the ice for 8 hours, frozen, and they'll come alive in your sink while you're cleaning them at home. So it's not hard for these things to puddle jump, is what I call it. They puddle jump to lakes, and flooding gets in there, and they get from one lake to another, and that's how this really started back in the 50s. And here we are, 60, 70 years later, and they've completely wiped out Alexander's King Run. There is no more King Run there now. You have a group of guys that come up and say it's a commercial fisherman. You have a group of guys say it's the pike. I guarantee it's a little bit of everything.
The blob out the ocean,
right.
The oceanic temperatures rising, and that's what ADF&G says. It's the salt problem. So
there's a million different.
The trawlers.
Who knows?
The commercial over harvesting. There is not one single smoking gun. And the problem with the pike, that's you're asking what is the history, what's the deal? It's they were introduced illegally to certain places. They're detrimental to certain fish. That goes back to Anderson and them killing this entire lake now because there's no more native trout.
Nothing's left.
There's nothing left. And it's like, well, yeah, it's fun to catch a 10-inch fish, but it's a lot funner to go catch a 20-year-old, 20-pound giant.
They tried doing a
pike.
trophy fishery in Alexander so that we could have that in these areas. It didn't work out for whatever reason. I don't know why. But they actually had slot limits on Alexander for quite a while, and now it's to the point where it's kill and catch everything out of there.
Mm-hmm. So slot limits, explain what a slot limit is.
So a slot limit would be you get so many fish this size, or so many fish under this size. Usually with Alexander or Minto Flats is a body of water up in Fairbanks, and now so that's the other side of the range where they're legal. They have a slot limit of one fish under a certain size, one fish above a certain size, and that's all you're allowed to take for the entire day of fishing. To whereas we're on this side of the range, it's kill and catch everything that you can. And what's funny about that, we were kind of discussing earlier, is there's only certain bodies of water. It's, to my knowledge, the West Cook Inlet and the Susitna Drainage are the only bodies of water you cannot live release a pike in the Mat-Su Valley. It is on the BOF to change that to the entire Mat-Su, which it most likely will pass. And once that happens, any pike you catch in the valley or around the valley is going to have to be killed. And I think the biggest problem that you see is you have a group of guys that really love fishing for pike. I'm one of them. I love pike fishing. I grew up in Minnesota doing it my entire life. And they want to try and blame commercial fishermen. They want to try and blame this, that, and the other. And they don't have much scientific background to be spouting off these certain things. And I feel like ADF&G, who does have a scientific background, who's been studying this fish for 50 years in this region, they're at the point now where they're just trying to not eradicate, but keep a stronghold over these fish so they don't devastate other fisheries like they did to Alexander. I mean, they're in the sloughs in the Deshka, and the Deshka's got a very good king run, a very solid silver run, but the kings have been dwindling there. And
I mean, right now we can't even catch or release king salmon.
It's going to get bad.
It is.
So there's also a rumor that there was a pike caught at Tail Race. I don't know if you guys heard that. So, yes,
I heard that.
ADFG has it in their freezer. And now what's really cool about today's age is we have actual equipment. There's a bone inside their head that they can test, and it'll say what body of water they grew up in, and then it'll show when they got transferred. It's basically like a timeline, and there'll be a little blip in that timeline that says, oh, they went from this body of water to this body of water. So they'll be able to tell that pike was transferred wherever it was transferred, when it was transferred into Tail Race. So that fish didn't just appear in Tail Race. Somebody had to have put it there. I mean, I guess maybe it's technically possible it could have gotten there on its own. Very hard to believe that. It's very brackish water. But so they're going to do testing at I think it's University of Fairbanks. And once they have that fish tested, they'll be able to tell where it actually grew up and if it did derive from those waters.
Wow.
And we'll know more information.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That's hunting, fishing, and just sportsman recreation. That's dollars at work.
Mm-hmm.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm talking tough about the kings, right? I'm talking wild king salmon. We still have the Tail Race, which is like, that is, it is great. It's an artificial run, or an artificial king salmon fishery that including the Tail Race and the fishery there that was created. But I say we're going to do a blind taste test because I like wild king salmon. I can tell the taste difference between a tail race fish and a Talkeetna Clear Creek king for sure, or a copper king. I might not be able to tell
that's gonna be a podcast or at least a YouTube video of us me feeding you that, and you got to tell me where it's
Which
from.
one's which?
Yeah. I don't know
that.
about the wild, but I can definitely tell.
Okay, so here's the big question: can you tell the fight, the fight of a tail race king versus a?
No.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
No way.
Well, you live for that fight, baby.
Oh my, yeah, absolutely. Man, Vince caught a whopper after we saw Jen, our fact checker over here. She caught a whopper, and then one last cast. Remember the story? Taking a nap, they're like, oh, let's go. It's like, no, okay, yeah.
One last cast.
One last cast.
Every time.
That's,
Okay.
Vince caught a monster there, and it was awesome. That's great, right? That we have that fishery, and that's dollars at work, and it's cool with the science behind being able to tell. I didn't know that. Blew my mind right there. That's awesome. So our dollars being put to good use, but those king salmon aren't the ones that we're talking about. Those salmon, that run there, the tail race. That's a bummer that a pike did show up there in the Knik River drainage. But these pike that have been here in the state of Alaska for how long? Since the 50s now? Down
Well,
here
in the
south
state, they've
of
been
the
here
range.
since before we've been here. But as far as in the South Central, since about the 50s.
So where does it all go? You like the fight. It's fun to catch them. Some people say pike are not good to eat. Others say they're some of the best to eat. So it's kind of like
Where we're at now is suppression, is what the ADF&G has calculated what they're going to do, and that means is they're going to try and stop them from. I think they're going to hit the waterways with Rotno, like we were talking, with closed systems. So Kings, Anderson, there's no way that
King Lake,
King
Anderson
Lake, and Anderson
not
Lake.
King Salmon.
So King Lake and Anderson Lake, they're connected by a culvert. Now, depending on weather, they can connect to Cottonwood. Now that's their big fear, is that Cottonwood gets overflowed, pike get into Cottonwood.
Cottonwood is a creek.
Cottonwood Creek. Cottonwood Creek has a salmon run. I think it's silvers, I believe.
They have silvers and reds.
And reds, okay.
Yeah,
and so their big fear is that the fish are going to get into there. All they have to have is the heavy rain season for those to connect into King, and that system could have pike in it. Now, they've gill netted Cottonwood several times. They have not found any pike, so they know that if they stop it now, they're good to go. So that's their reasoning behind that. And honestly, Kings and Anderson Lakes are at the point now where you're catching mainly hammer handles, and a hammer handle is a pike that's the size of a hammer handle. Nobody likes catching them. They're really stunted. You might as well catch trout, and it gets to where you're getting all these bones. You can't really get any fillets off of those kind of fish. And that's the scary part that all these big fishermen are seeing. And when they have these big pike kill-offs, is you're going to get to the point where that's the only kind of pike you're going to have. It's just a bunch of tiny hammer handles that still eat and devour everything, but they're not fun to catch. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a catch-22.
Yeah, so then fishermen don't really want to go catch them anymore, so they use the incentive to go catch them. So then you have...
All you have is the ADF&G management at that point. You don't have the angler management helping you anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're not here to, obviously you love pike, northern pike. Pike are awesome. Yep. We're not here to persecute them. I mean, they're fun to catch. Golly, it gets us off the couch. But, being said, we're going to persecute rainbow trout and dollies, big ones in Montana Creek that are gobbling up salmon smolt. Burbot,
lots of salmon fry. But, and that was brought up to the ADF&G at a meeting, and they made a good point. They said that, our biggest concern is invasive species. We're not concerned about species that have been coexisting with each other for hundreds of years that are going to... So I've talked to several guides. A couple of them were actually at that meeting at Kings Lake that they brought to the ADF&G's attention, that they bring customers out to Big Lake all the time, and Big Lake is one of the lakes that's a natural system in the ADF&G. It's not stocked. It's river fed, and it's been coexisting pike for 30, 40 years probably. And their biggest claim is when they catch pike out of the lake, they open them up and they only find usually other pike. They rarely ever find any other species of fish, and they never find salmon smolt. And when they open up Burbot, they find chuck full of salmon smolt. And the ADFG kind of fired back and basically said, well, the Burbot are they're a natural predator. This is expected and it should be happening. And, pike are not a natural predator, and they're the ones that are going to be causing these issues that are more detrimental and they haven't been coexisting naturally for more than 50 years since they've been introduced in there. I did have a buddy send me a picture of a salmon a pike the other day that he did spear out of Big Lake, and it did have a salmon smelt in it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I sent it off to the ADF&G just to show them, that kind of thing. But I think that people can use statistics any way they want, to or against their benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You find it all the time, whether it's in government statistics or these kind of statistics, but you can bend them any way you want. And commercial fishermen are going to bend them to blame the pike. Pike fishermen are going to bend them to blame the commercial fishermen. ADF&G is trying to play the middle. They don't want to piss anybody off. But what it comes down to is, I think that there has to be a give and take. So I would like to see lakes like Big Lake become a trophy fishery where they have a slot limit and you try to respect the pike. But I think the other outstanding areas that could be detrimental, like Kings and Anderson, that could connect to Cottonwood, that could kill off their salmon run, I see a point to kill those lakes off. And they're using federal funds, so it's not taking anything from the state budget from us, which is also nice to see. But it's still our tax money. We're paying federal taxes, so it's something to consider there. But you
mentioned the poison that they used earlier.
Yeah, rotenone.
And so, kind of explain what.
So rotenone's been around since the 30s, I believe, and they've been using it for invasive species all over the United States. I don't know if it's used internationally, but basically what rotenone does is it does not deplete the oxygen or poison the oxygen. What it does is just makes it unusable for the fish. So the fish cannot process it through their gills. How it does that scientifically, I don't really know. But long story short, usually they hit these things up in the fall. They give it the winter to kind of gestate, and come spring, they'll come around, clean up any of the dead fish that don't sink back down to the bottom, become back part of the process. But it does kill everything off. Is the only downside. You're killing any water bugs. You're killing any animals that breathe oxygen underwater in that lake are going to die from it.
So they've gone through multiple plans, strategic ways on how to control or get rid of these fish. With some of the areas that the pike are in, they can start by just not stocking them anymore with trout.
Which is what they do. They stop that immediately because it's just wasting tax dollars.
Exact waste of tax dollars, but also a loss in fishing opportunities for other people.
Well, honestly, it makes it a lot harder to fish those lakes. And I've talked to people that fish lakes that are still being actively stocked, and it's a lot harder to target pike in those lakes because they're getting fed fat and happy all day long, a buffet.
Hence Landowski over here not catching anything when he went to Anderson Lake 4 times in a row.
That lake has been hit super hard, though. There's very few fish left in it.
I fished it once in the wintertime and got skunked. I'm like,
never again. We used to hit that lake in the summertime, and 11, kind of like how you and your buddy were hitting that one lake at 11 o'clock at night. We would just smoke them from the banks, hundreds of them all night long. It was insane, and they were all hammer handles. Right. Yeah, but and that's what you get once you start clearing out these pike, is you get just a bunch of little guys.
Basically with that lake, we gave it a real good shot at trying to catch that fish. Like, we spent a lot of time trying to catch a bobber herring going. I'm not sure if you're allowed to use live bait or not, but there could have been.
You're not in Alaska, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can't use live bait.
No.
Yeah, so
and the reason why that is there's no. You see, down in Minnesota, or where I'm from, those states, is a lot of the live bait you're allowed to use naturally occur in the lakes that you're fishing.
Right.
So sucker minnows, fatheads, crappie minnows, we don't have anything that naturally occur around here.
Yeah. And so if one gets away, then it's
invasive.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've heard people using, mice, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a naturally occurring thing here, but we can't use them.
Nope.
But it did cross our mind to go to the pet store and grab a mouse
right?
and rubber band into a hook,
Next thing is those poppers right across the top of the water. Those work too,
Right, and we tried that. I tried fly fishing and tried it all. I'm like, nope, I'm going to bring back my bow. Yeah. So that being said, you see all these funny fish lures, the ducks, snake on the top
frogs
of water.
Work pretty well too.
Right? The frog, actually, we caught several on the frog late at night. So that was good. But it sounds like, that being said, in the tactics, we can dive in on the tips and tactics as far as how you're catching these bad boys. But personally, I think you need to start submitting some proposals for sure, personally. As far as like being on the AC board, talking real tough. The committee, advisory committee, it's a lot of time, right? Just a bunch of other individuals who are concerned about all sorts of topics. But it'd be really cool to see some proposals come across from you as far as these management plans.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting a concluder mid podcast, but that's just coming to my mind. Like
You're gonna save that for the end.
I couldn't. I'm looking at this man like, you tell me more, right?
Oh yeah, we're extracting the juice.
Oh, give it, yeah. It's,
Squeezing.
the space dust is really helping,
Right.
for sure.
So back to ADF&G options. So
He's got to rein it in. He's got to rein it in.
trying to rein this guy in every once in a while. So they've tried several different options to remove the vegetation because that's where pike like to live. Lots of money, virtually impossible. Water manipulation, making the water hot because pike can't live in hot water. Again, very difficult, not
Very
cost
expensive.
not cost effective.
A lot of money goes into this stuff. I mean, I believe just killing off those 2 lakes, they're going to be spending somewhere around $80,000, if I recall.
It's just 2 local lakes. That's
Just 2
Kings
local
Lake
lakes,
and
yeah.
Anderson Lake.
It's a lot of money. I mean, to date, I can imagine they've spent millions to eradicate the pike in Alaska. But if they weren't actively adding this suppression, where would our salmon population be right now? I don't know. And the salmon is what bringing money into whether it's tourism, whether it's commercial fishing. The salmon's bringing money into the state big time. And, I mean, the slope might bring a little bit of money in, but how many guys work on the slope and then go out of state and spend their money in another economy because they live down there?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of commercial fishermen that don't live in the state either.
Commercial
but they're paying
guys,
taxes into the state, business taxes for all the fish they're catching, which is nice. I feel like there's just... You have 2 sides of it. You have the commercial fishing side of these people, like you said, they have to make a living.
Absolutely.
They have to make money or their family's not going to survive. And so they have that side of it going for them. But then you have the point of, when is our fishery going to end up like Washington's did or Oregon's did, and we have no more fishing left, and now all those guys are up here fishing because there's no more fishing left. And yeah, I don't think you can blame one specific problem. It's
Absolutely.
just a cumulative thing that just keeps building and building and building, and pike is just thrown on top of that.
Yes.
Yep.
So, back to options. The ADF&G, some critical things I want listeners to take home is education on illegal stocking. Stop bucket biology at the moment, or at this moment right now. Stop. Because you're just causing more issues. We all like to catch pike, but when you transfer them from Kings Lake and take them into your buddy's back pond, and then that back pond floods and goes into a creek, guess what? You're just adding to the issue.
Millions and millions of dollars of damage.
Yes. And then also they did that by strengthening the penalty for illegally introducing pike, which is a misdemeanor
I
now.
think it's $10,000 fine too, right?
Yeah.
Make it a felony. Make
should.
these fishermen illegals.
Right?
Put them in jail.
I mean, yes, we all like to catch pike.
Throw the book.
We all
Throw
like
the
to
book
catch
at 'em.
pike, but we also like to catch other fish, salmon, kings. We've gotten on that.
Absolutely.
Or
Well,
we're going to have to keep eradicating lakes and spending more and more.
And people
more
say, "Oh,
tax
it's just federal money." Well, I pay federal taxes.
Yep.
That's money coming from me too. That could be going to Social Security, or could be going to all sorts of things. Who knows?
right, and I don't know. If we're eradicating these lakes, then you're not going to have Finger Lake fishing derbies. You're not going to have things that, kids are going out there and actually getting the tug on the rod and being lifelong members in the outdoors, right? And paying their money for the Robertson Pittman Act, buying fishing licenses, buying fishing tackle, buying a license to do this, right? Like if you eliminate these local opportunities where, we're average bros trying to be above average, and obviously we will all go out and go do things. we can say we're average, but obviously we're on the top end of that, right? We're going out and doing substantial things where some people may just be getting into it, don't have that much money. Go to Walmart, get a fishing rod, which I've got. That's my rig. That's my setup. Got a couple Walmart ugly sticks, or maybe they're like three bears.
I thought yours was garage sale. The garage sale special, isn't that what you got that king on? Or
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
I called.
Oh yeah, I've got all sorts of garage sale specials, buddy. But it's just where I'm getting at is it will
Just
take away
get out there.
opportunity to get people the tug, that initial fix. Maybe it's a 65-year-old man that becomes a 12-year-old because you hooked him up, you put him in the juice, you took him out, he used his new machine, he went above and beyond and hooked a fish, which is awesome.
And that's what it's about.
And hey, and I also get it, man. I was, 12 years old once. I used to have I still do, a Honda, 250EX, and my four-wheeler I put it on blast around the valley, catching fish, backpack, net, fishing rod,
On the back.
and cruising around, right? So I know that I don't know where this illegal introductions are coming from, but there could be kids like you said, Kings Lake, taking a bucket full of fish, throwing it on the back on a Honda EX 250, a quad, and going to the back pond. Let's see if they live. I don't know who's doing it, but obviously it's not good.
I think there's adults involved in it. I mean, you got Sand Lake just had a bass introduced into it. Somebody caught in Anchorage. That wasn't that long ago.
How
What?
did they get a bass up here?
I'm telling you, man, that's ADF&G actually did that test I told you about where they can tell where this fish originated from, and it originated from a lake in Wisconsin, and a gentleman who lives on that lake in Sand Lake is from that town.
Oh, so you had a
So,
tank maybe.
but it's one of those things where you don't have proof, it's all substantial. So it's very hard, as much as ADF&G would love to charge people, it's very hard to prove that kind of stuff and go forward with it. But they caught a bass in Sand Lake. A lot of people don't know they caught muskie and Kenai here last year or 2 years ago. They found a whole lake full of muskie. Been thriving there for years. After they eradicated, spent all that money to get pike out of there. Somebody brought muskie in.
Where's the mind blow emoji right now?
So people don't know this, but you can get right on Google right now and you can buy fingerlings and they'll send them to you in the mail. And they come in enough oxygen in a bag and boom, you have fish. Now the ADF&G says it's very hard to get someone to ship to you unless you're a business that deals in fish or you're a hatchery, that kind of thing, That's what people are doing. They're literally ordering these things off Amazon. And they're having them shipped to their doors and they can throw them right into a backyard. And they're having this problem with even goldfish. I mean, there was a huge goldfish infestation in Anchorage. And they had to know a couple of lakes here recently to get rid of the goldfish. They had goldfish they were catching the size of dinner plates.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I mean, all
I mean,
it takes
are they
is
even
for
good eating?
all the. And that's what upsets me about all this money being spent to kill all these off, and it just takes some Joe Schmo to go to the pet store, buy a fish, and throw in the lake, and then we're back at square one again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's usually harmless. It's people don't realize the damage that they could be causing by releasing an unnative fish in an area like that. But yeah.
You're completely changing the natural. Hold on.
We got an editor's note coming in.
What's the editor's note, Jen?
Jen.
Well, it just makes sense that, you're saying it's so easily accessible now to do that. We don't want people to do that. We need to educate people on the reasons why we shouldn't be doing that, because it sounds like it's pretty easy now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Common now.
Absolutely. And if we're doing our part with just the Alaskast, just help whoever can hear this. Let's stop that immediately.
I'm
Bucket
thinking-
biology is not a science, and let's stop.
Yeah, I'm thinking about taking buckets of pike, on a four-wheeler. Get with the times, man. This,
They're ordering on the intranet.
Just Amazon it in, man.
God, that just blew my mind.
The ADF&G did say it's very hard to find somebody that will ship you fish to your house, local address like that because of exact reasons. But as well as I do, is someone's going to find a way. That's what they're going to do. And
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's like
Yeah.
turkeys. There's turkeys in Alaska.
yep, there's also pheasants and. it's
Yeah,
just-
how do you get them up here? But turkeys, they're not like picking on bull moose.
No, no.
but
They're all
they
gonna-
might be. I don't know.
They're all going to cause their problem somewhere, somehow. But how extensive is that problem?
Right.
Yeah.
Man, that's just incredible. I don't know how much time we have here
Let's-
open. How we doing?
We're doing okay, but I want to go into Let's extract some more juice from Gavin, the pike predator himself, the wolf of wolves. Let's hear some tips and techniques to catch these bad babies.
And let me kick this off with. No, we don't necessarily got to talk spots. We already put it on the line, Anderson King Lake, and I think we can let it to rest that you caught a monster. Closure of a special place. I did too, and that's why I went after and tried to ice fish, and I said nope.
Once you get that, man, you can't stop.
Yeah, done there.
Try to get higher and higher.
Where do you go? Where do you go from there? So where now, as far as like your pike fishing, since you probably, I don't know if you continue to go hit these local lakes, but it sounds like you're going out further. So how do you select a lake or a spot? Select a spot, select the depth, select your tackle. I know you're doing a lot with like outreach and bringing people on, so we're not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about how do you target.
How do I go? I'm going to go to this lake and try this out.
And yeah,
That's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, personal time. It's like my dog sheep hunting. When I go solo, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
What's your stick, man? What's the formula?
So where I started right off the bat, square one, and I was just a virgin ice fisherman in Alaska. Didn't know what I was doing. As I went to the ADF&G website, and they have a list.
Okay, hold on, rewind. He's from Oregon. Where'd you originally come from?
Minnesota.
Okay.
So I'm a huge pike fisherman in Minnesota. That's what I did my entire life. I've been fishing pike since I could walk and just love doing it. Yeah. So when I came up here, I didn't really even realize there was pike in Alaska for the first couple of years. I was getting into salmon. I was getting into trout, char, all these new things. And then after I got out of high school, I started hearing reports of people catching pike in the valley. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize there was pike in Alaska. And started kind of getting the itch for it again, and I went on the ADF&G website, and they have a list. Now, it's a little outdated now, but they have a list of all lakes that are confirmed pike, which means they've gone and confirmed there are pike in those lakes, and they also have lakes that have been called in by Joe Schmo saying, hey, there's pike here. So some of those lakes may not 100% be for sure have pike in them, but usually if someone calls and tells you there's pike in the lake, they're not lying.
Fish story.
Yep, exactly. I think the first lake I fished was Memory in Wasilla. And it still actively has pike today, but it's far and few between. They are actively stocking it, so it's a hard lake to fish.
Is that Prater Lake? Like that area?
That's another one.
Okay.
That Prater Lake is a little further north towards Houston. Memory's right smack dab in the middle of Wasilla. It's over off of Hebrides.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Over off Chirac.
Yep. Duh.
Yep. So it's like an hourglass shape, and when I first went to that lake, me naturally, when I'm looking for a pike territory, I'm looking for weeds. I'm looking for shallow water. They're going to come into the shallow water because that's where your smaller fish are going to hang out. And they're predator fish, so they're going to come ambush those smaller fish in the shallows.
That's spring, summer, right? You're targeting
all year long, yeah.
All year long.
All year long, you're looking
winter.
for
Yep, all year long I'm looking in the shallows. Now, I mean, you can find them in deeper water in the summertime, but spring when they're spawning, you're going to find them in shallow. And once it gets a little hotter, they might start venturing out, but they're always going to come back to the shallows to eat. That's where they're catching their small fish. It's really cool too because in the when they start spawning, they get these red tips on their fins, like usually about a 1/4 inch thick, and that's when you know they're in the deep spawn. And it's very hard not to just hammer them one after another on the banks when they're depending on the lake that you're on. But usually pike like to spend most of their time in those shallow waters. They just circle the lake looking for prey. That's what they're doing all day long, looking for food.
Now, when they are spawning in spring, are they very active eaters? Because I noticed some of the big ones, like I saw them, we're target fishing them, and they were like,
logs just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So what I've come to find is you got to piss them off. You're looking to aggravate them. You're looking to think that you are a predator yourself, trying to get into their eggs or whatnot. So they're not very active eating during that time. What I found best is to use pike imitation lures. So I like the little storm pike baits, and if you toss another pike in front of them, they will hammer that thing every time. And naturally, pike eat 70% of their own fry. So I think that's also just adding to it.
Cannibals.
But they're looking for,
Cannibals eating their own children, not just other nests, but their own babies too.
Yeah, 70%.
Males, or is that the females?
It's the female, actually.
Oh, she don't give a damn.
She don't give a damn. So if you imagine in invasive waters where most times their only source of food is pike, they're probably getting anything and everything they can get their mouths on. But yeah, I like to stick within, I'd say anywhere from 18 inches of water, believe it or not. up to about 6 feet of water.
18 inches, even
18
in
inches,
the winter. So you'll dig a hole, and you're like, well, I can get a hook down there, and it's barely sitting there.
So you're looking for, that's not including your ice now. So that's past your ice. So if you have 2 feet of ice, you want 18 inches of water from your ice to the ground.
Okay.
And you're going to get pike activity
liquid
in there.
water. Gotcha.
Yep. And my buddy Dan Praslitz, he caught a 56-incher out of Big Lake last year in 18 inches of water. Yeah, big old pike. Big pike. It was like 26 pounds. Yeah.
That's a hog.
Big pike. Yeah, and it was just chilling right there. And, when they get into these breeding zones and they're just chilling and breeding, they're only in about a foot of water. So that was a bobber and a herring. There's summertime.
Oh, it was summertime.
It was summertime, yeah.
Did he see that big old log? Like,
He did.
Why is that log
They
drifting?
saw some activity over there, yeah, and he just tossed it. And what I've noticed with pike is they're really big on pressure changes, whether it's sunlight, whether it's weather, clouds, big changes in the weather. They like to hit like that when they have these big changes, and that's exactly what happened. He had that bobber and that herring sitting in front of this pike for several minutes, nothing happening, and as soon as the clouds came up from that sun, it just smacked his line, and it was gone. And so I noticed that with the bigger pike, definitely pressure changes help, and then sticking in that 6 feet to 18 inches of water when you're in the winter time.
Mega hot tip right there. Mega hot tip.
Yep. If you can find vegetation too, you're looking good.
And it's not necessarily, let's fish the first hour and let's fish the last hour. This could happen at any time.
It can happen at any time. I do have a lot better luck after sunlight's up. First thing in the morning, last light and first light, I have the best luck. Usually dulls down in the middle of the day when I'm fishing for pike. And that's for all methods, whether you're jigging, tip up, spearing, any of that stuff. They seem to really lull down in the middle of the day. Why that is, I do not know, but I imagine the end of the day, they know it's their last meal before the end of the night. I have not caught, this is the summertime, I haven't caught very many pike once the light's gone. They seem to not be very active nocturnally. And I don't know how their eyesight is or what the cause of that is, but even back in Minnesota, we usually wouldn't catch pike after dark and get into the crappies and things like that at that point, But yeah, that's the kind of the depth you're looking for when you're.
Are you looking for points? Are you looking for
So that's the other thing I was
shells?
going to tell you about. So I look for points is usually a really big one, and also shelves when you want to get right on that spot where it's a nice drop off is a good point because those pike are going to be coming in from where they live, which is in the drop off areas. They're going to come up to those really shallow points to hit those those prey fish. I think you're also going to find pike in bays. So if you have points and off that point you get into kind of a bay off of the lake where it starts to get shallower, you're going to find them coming into these bays to look for those prey fish. So if you can come off a point and go around a bay, that's pretty good. If I'm on new water and I'm trying to test an area out, I like to do it's kind of like a set line technique. So I will come out from the shore and I will set lines in a row, 3 feet of water, 5 feet of water, 8 feet of water, 10 feet. It's basically a trap line coming across, so any pike circling the lake are going to hit across your bait at some point. So that works really well. And once you kind of get a sense of where, if you have 3-4 guys with you and we're doing that at different levels, you start to get a sense of the pike are hitting the tip-ups that are at this range. And they kind of all stay in the same flow. It's very interesting to watch that. And once you have that dialed in, you can pull other tip-ups and try and kind of go in line further down your bank. Lakes, as far as dead sticking, I call it, towards jigging. And dead sticking is if you were just to have a tip-up sitting there, and a tip-up is a flake system on basically a piece of wood, and it's I guess you call it a spool, and when that gets hit, it lets the fish free run until you make it to the flake to set the hook. When I dead stick, it seems that lakes that are darker do better with dead sticking on tip-ups. The lakes where you have more visibility, you do better with jigging. Why that is, I have no idea. So a lot of these lakes on Point
Jigging
McKenzie,
like a lure or
yeah. So honestly, and everybody always asks me this: what are you using to jig with? And anything from a pop can to they'll hit anything. They just want something flashy, or noisy.
Really?
Yep. They'll hit absolutely anything. I always also recommend putting some bait on the end of your line, whatever you may be jigging with, whether it's a Castmaster, a spoon, or I like they're called storm baits. They're really, really popular. Walmart sells them.
Scandinavian?
Huh?
But the storms, are they Scandinavian?
I don't know.
Where are the storms made?
I don't know.
fact checker.
Fact checker, where they made.
Where they made,
The
right?
storm baits, and they have dozens of different kinds. I like using the Pike imitation.
Those
Pike.
are the ones that kind of they're
Just like the
really
fish.
look like a fish.
They look legit.
Yep, but they get destroyed by Pike. I mean, a couple times you have to throw one away because the tail's gone. It's just mangled. I mean, they have really good sets of teeth on them, you know.
Same thing with halibut.
Yep.
On the ocean, the storm. I picked that little hot tip up, Valdez.
After one or two, you're done.
Yeah. Yep.
The thing about bringing this back to Oregon, when your bait got really tore up and matted and teeth and the salt was really just leaking into, like, that's when it got good.
Right? That's when you got the good soak going on.
That's when you got good. So it's kind of opposite of this.
Broke in a
It
little
got
bit.
broken. It's missing its tail. It's got a big chunk out of it.
It's real. It's realer.
And they're like, oh.
So the thing with herring, and that's my prime go-to bait in Alaska, is it is expensive. So, you're buying a dozen herring, you're spending $12, probably $10 to $12.
So are you buying the herring that kind of comes in like a meat package?
So those
or
are the
like-
ones that are spendy. I don't. I buy the bulk bag ones. They're a little
Okay.
bit bigger. I like to cut them in half, maybe even thirds sometimes, depending. But that's where you can get into trouble. You get on lakes like Big Lake and Nancy, you can't use cut bait. You can use any size bait you want. You could use shrimp. You could use, doesn't matter. You just can't cut it.
You can't cut the bait.
Can't cut your bait.
Why can't you cut bait? That's like a saying.
Right? Why can't you cut your bait?
Yeah. Let's cut bait. Like, let's get out of here, man.
To my knowledge, the rules that they have pertaining to pike fishing on those lakes are to protect the burbot. So I think the smaller the bait, the more accessible burbot can gobble it up. You can't. You also can't fish off the bottom there. You have to be suspended so many inches off the bottom. Your
Have you
hooks
ever
have
been
to
checked?
be. Huh?
You ever been checked?
Nope.
depth?
I have not. I have had buddies that have been checked and ticketed. Usually out there, it's
Really?
a state park, so out there
I
it's park
wonder
rangers.
how. What are they doing? They probably have bass with lasers, cameras
Yeah.
on their head. I would not put it past the state troopers or the
Park
ADFG
rangers out there.
and park rangers and
Yep.
technology. I mean, like, dude, I know, dude, they are bad boys. They
I
know.
want to mess with them.
No,
well, and I've come
absolutely.
to find out the park rangers know their crap.
Oh, sure.
The troopers, you can actually usually find that sometimes it's off and on. They will try to ticket you for something that's not ticketable, and you're like, show me the rule book here where it states that.
Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about this for a second.
Don't write it up yet. Let's just talk about this. Hold on.
And so out at Nancy and Big Lake, you have hook size restrictions, and you have suspended bait restrictions. You have cut bait restrictions. So those that goes back to if you're going to fish a lake, specifically check the rules, and then if there's nothing specially added on, you go by the general rules.
Yeah.
So
I
you
heard
like
that.
herring.
Herring's my favorite. It's just spendy. So hooligan's another go-to.
So, yeah, you down there when they come in the Yetna?
Oh, yeah.
And, okay.
I go to 10 Mile or whatever that is. They're over there in Girdwood.
20 mile.
20 Mile.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep, so I'll hit the sides there.
Now, what is your setup? So your bait of choice, herring, if you run out of hooligan, but you've got your dead stick, you got your jig. What do you do? I want to talk.
So on the tip up, I like to use they sell this ice line. It's called, and it's a threaded ice line. Usually it's around a 40-pound test, and it's I like it because it's thick enough to where when you're hand lining these things in, you're not cutting your hands. You get these skinnier lines that are like Power Pro stuff that's been hand braided. It's very thin and it's very hard on your hands. I don't prefer that. So I go from that. I usually don't use leaders. Leaders just seem to get really, that metal, once you're winding it up, it gets really just bungeed up. It almost turns into a spring, So I go with just a good old-fashioned swivel. And from that swivel, we make our own predator rigs, and we're using like 40 to 50-pound monofilament. And then we just do double treble hooks. So the only catch with the treble hooks is you can't have two pieces of bait. You have to have the treble hooks into the same piece of bait, and then
So you
roll
can't
it.
have two little herrings.
Can't have two herrings hanging out there.
Just
Yeah,
hanging
so
out
the law is written. You have to have those hooks into the same piece of
Gotcha.
bait. Yep.
Okay.
So we use double treble hooks.
Is that I've seen that like bear paw fishing tackle?
So you can buy it already made.
Yeah.
Clam makes them. There's a couple out of It's called Predator rigs is what they're called, and I think there's two brands making them out of Sportsman's right now.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. As far as a single line, can you use like a line leader connector like Bear Paw Tackle makes, where you can have as many hooks as you want, and you can fish any depth column, or is it because salmon, it's like single hook, artificial only. You get
So you can have the double or the triple, but they all have to be into the same piece of bait. So you can't have like
you can't have multiple
so
baits.
like a Carolina rig where you
yeah,
have,
yeah, can't do that. Or that's probably a longline halibut, right?
Yeah,
They
right.
have, yeah.
unless you have a really long piece of herring that will go from the top to the bottom.
Right.
Deluxe herring. I stitched them together. But, so I get it. Even
Gotcha.
though they're an invasive fish, they're still, they don't want the bycatch.
That's
They don't want,
the biggest rules that come in is bycatch, and I brought it up. I was like, then why don't you have specific rules for lakes that only have pike in them? And it gets hard because a lot of these lakes are unnamed. You have to do coordinates at that point and mile radiuses and
the
Let's
regulation.
just name.
Yeah.
Let's just name all these billions of
Pothole lakes.
exactly.
I actually got to name one a couple weeks ago. ADFG put it in their pike directory for me. It was pretty cool.
Oh, you got a name
Oh,
one?
really? What's
Yep.
it called? Is this
Tip
wait,
over lake.
what?
Tip over lake.
Tip over lake.
Tip over lake. Is
My
this a hot
buddy's-
spot? Is this like?
Actually,
You
it's
giving a
not very
spot here?
hot. It's right behind figure 8. It's
It's
shaped
not
like
hot.
figure
It's
8.
cold. It's cold.
It's got some fish in it, but they're smaller. But we brought my buddy's kid with him, and he tipped his sled over and flooded his sled out, and it couldn't start. So we started, joking around with him. We're like, should we name this lake Flooded Carb or Tip Over Lake? It's like, we got it. We'll name you Flooded Carb. That's your new nickname. And then we're going to name this Tip Over Lake. And then the guy that was with us works for ADFNG. He went back and put it in the pike directory as Tip Over Lake because it's an unnamed lake. I was like, cool. All right.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What you do is you put your shoulder in and you push. What movie? What movie? Come on.
Little Giants.
No. What you do is put your shoulder in and you push. Chris Farley. Come on.
I'm
Tommy
usually
Boy.
pretty good with movies.
I'll be like, tip over. Yeah. Cow tipping. That's what I think.
Oh, yeah. That's right. With Rob Lowe.
Yep.
David Spade. That's an instant classic.
Oh, it is.
It
It's
is,
a
too.
classic. What's another classic ice fishing movie?
Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah.
I just watched both of them the other day, actually.
All right, so we got the herrings. I'm ringing you guys back in.
Thank you.
Rate them in.
So we got herring techniques, jigging techniques. We got finding points, 6 foot to 18 inches of water. What about? Do you do any winter river fishing? Any of those sloughs? I don't know.
I think it's pretty popular up in Fairbanks area. They have a lot of they do set lines, and so they'll just put lines out overnight, come back and check them. I think their main target's Burbot doing that, but they'll catch pike doing it too.
Kind of
every
more
once
of
in a
like
while.
a substance.
Yep.
Rivers in Alaska, especially in the winter, are absolutely no joke. When you look at some of those open leads on the Susitna River, and if you go in, it's death. Like you are looking at a death hole. It's like you were standing on the edge of a cliff, 2,000-foot cliff, that if you fall, you are not
You
going
are
to
dead.
make it. I recently had that where I went out. I've been fearless my whole life, and all of a sudden I look at an open lead on the Susitna, and I'm looking for a tree to hold on to. I'm freaked out. I know how powerful the Susitna is. You go under, you're gone. That being said, talking about winter fishing, I've been doing some fishing for burbot since we can't fish kings, right? And so doing bear bait off the Susitna River, it's like, yeah, not giving away a spot. River's huge, but been doing set lines for burbot.
I've always wanted to do that. Yeah.
Hey, take me pike fishing, show me the way. I will take you. I will show you the way.
We'll do
as
it.
far as burbot for sure.
Yeah.
I just figured it out.
Can I come? I don't have
Absolutely.
anything to contribute, but
Yeah, it's totally
Well, I got
fine.
2 sleds too, man.
Yeah, you can cut bait. You can cut bait for
I'll be the
burbot.
bait cutter.
You can cut bait for burbot.
I'll be the grunt.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it.
So, but burbot are great as far as like the winter fishing because
It tastes a lot like pike too.
really. So
Yep.
that white meat,
White-
the
white
white
meat, man.
and
Yep.
the burbot. I've gone with burbot. I've done a side by side taste test with rockfish, halibut, and burbot, and blind taste test with individuals, and I think it was like 5 out of 7 were like, that is good. I cut them all identical, and they picked the burbot. And I don't know, maybe I just took extra care because I've been fishing the burbot.
Yeah, you want to know it
Really?
tastes good, yeah.
But the burbot was legit.
Oh, wow.
And so I really like cooking burbot and catching them. But some people say burbot don't keep. It's like pike don't keep. You know, you cut them, you vacuum seal them, then you pull them out, and it's not the same.
Yeah, it's
hit
not
or
the
miss.
same, but yeah.
But the burbot, I haven't caught a monster burbot. But apparently in some of these fisheries, like Big Lake you're talking about, you've got pike,
Oh, there's
and
some
you got burbot.
15-plus pounders out there, I bet.
Yep. So
Yeah.
I caught it was about 10-pound burbot this summer, and he set it overnight near my bear bait and came back. Everything's empty, all my set lines, and my wife was there, her set lines. Okay, pull them up. We get to the last one, like, oh, something's going on. All the hooks, he had hooks in his mouth, right, that he had pulled out. So that's why you got to check your lines really quick for this burbot. He had pulled them out, and actually the only hook that he was caught on, he had rolled up in the line of 3, and it hooked him in the belly. So
You
I
can
got
spit
him,
it.
and I just pulled him up and threw him up on the bank, and he was hooked in the stomach, right, because he kicked the other 2 hooks out. He was just munching them. And with that, you fish. Burbot, herring's expensive, so you're allowed to use scraps. So you'll use like a salmon fin or something like that. You know, anything you can get a hold of, guts. You know, anything that's allowed in regs. And then that's a catch-22. You use eggs if you can use eggs if it's open during salmon season. I don't use them. I believe you can. I'm not sure if you can actually use them during when it's not salmon season for burbot, but I'm not sure if that's a gray area or not. I just don't fish unless you can actually use eggs in the river at that time. Just, you know, that is what it is. And there's doing the set lines is different for burbot because you're using set lines on like a trout line versus using the tip ups in the line. But I find salmon is effective. Salmon, can you actually use any salmon scraps for pike, and is it effective, or is smaller things good, like lampreys? Is lampreys also, you know, like what is the preferred bait if you can't get a hold of the herring or your hooligan?
Believe it or not, hot dogs.
Hot dogs, really?
Wow.
Yeah, we slam on hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Is it the shape? Is it the oil? The
Well,
sugar in
we
it?
do add a herring oil to that,
Okay.
so we'll have a tub of herring oil. But we have found that little smokies work better than hot dogs because hot dogs have that really thin skin and they fall off the hook very easily.
Wow.
So when you come to setting the fish, you can lose a lot of fish.
On these little smokies?
Little smokies have that tough skin, like a sausage almost, and so they stay on the hook a lot better. But we'll just inject them the night before, let them sit in a bag so they're full of that herring juice.
Hot tip.
Oh, jinx.
Oh, we just smoke them on them, man. It's insane. And anybody can go get a 98-cent pack of hot dogs and throw some herring goo in them, and you're golden.
Wow.
You know, yeah.
Do you use a whole wiener?
We break the wieners up. Usually, if you have the double predator rig like I'm going, you're going to go a half wiener. Yeah. A half wiener might be longer to some than others, but.
Are you talking a little smoky? Because we'll have a little smoky. That's a baby.
Little smoky, you do whole.
Oh,
Okay, little
Whole-
Yeah,
smoky,
so
whole
if we're
smoky.
talking like an Oscar Mayer, you're going to cut that bad boy in half for a double hook setup. If you have it on one hook, you're probably going to cut it in fourths.
Gotcha.
So-
they plump when you cook them.
I hear there's a lot of sugar in those. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure there.
I saw it on social media. It might be fake news, but I will say this: Ship Creek, King Salmon. You're still allowed to fish there, right? And there's some guys who hook up on that bait every time, and you're like, "What is this dude doing?" People are getting pissed because this one guy got the hot bait.
So
hot
what
rod.
that is the eggs they're using. And I think that
It's the cure.
also the cure depends on where those eggs came from. I think certain eggs from certain fish from certain bodies of water may have more of a tendency to attract fish. And I've been really wondering that for years, man, because you're right. You go there and you got 20 people using the same damn thing, but only one guy's catching fish. And they talk to the guy, I made these myself. These came from this body of water, from this such and such from a buddy. And
yeah, the key is king eggs. If you could catch a king and use king eggs,
you're golden.
You're golden.
Yeah,
but
cannibal.
the key is finding that first big hen with the eggs.
Uh-huh.
You catch her, you're golden.
So it's good to have
Fish
a
are
friend of a friend that
Fish are freaks.
They are.
Eat their own. What
Yeah.
the heck? The
Yep.
pike?
Pike leads 70% of their own in non-evasive waters. And invasive waters, I can't imagine what that number is.
So I've heard with that some of those guys, like I know one guy, I'm not going to say any names, but I know that people have gotten real upset because he's the guy that's like, oh yeah, I'm just catching and releasing him because he's trying to win the Derby, right? And I saw on a Snapchat, I'm not on there very often, but I saw he was putting sugar. He used sugar up on that mix. He's using sugar.
Let's all admit, sugar is just as addicting as meth. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. He's doing meth on them fish.
right? It's fish crack, dude, is what it is.
So that's why I'm saying maybe there's something with those hot dogs.
WD-40, we used it as kids. Believe it or not, that works too.
Yeah.
What,
that's
is
the
that-
old-timer trick.
Is
Yep.
that illegal?
It
It
is.
might- it-
Well, it depends
It's a
on
statute of
Alaska. So in
limitation.
Alaska,
I
fish
definitely-
attractants are illegal on certain lakes, like Lake Louise, Big Lake, Nancy. You can't use live bait out there. Any fish bombs that you use in those lakes, that's illegal.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, well that makes sense.
So bringing it back around to pike again.
Sorry,
after you
what
guys
was
have-
deep tangent on bourbon,
Tangents,
fish
tangents.
crack, and so all sorts of weirdness.
So, one last thing I want to cover about winter fishing before we hit into summer strategies.
We didn't talk about spearing either.
Yes, that's the. You
Yeah.
read my mind. What is the? So, what do you look for differently with spearing, and what is spearing for pike?
So with spearing, I look for the same conditions as I would for setting up tip-ups. When I was talking about, you're looking for that 18 to 6 feet of water vegetation.
So what is spearing first?
Well, spearing, you're going to be looking for a... to start with spearing, you're going to need an ice saw. An ice saw is a contraption that will help you cut a block of ice out of the lake. And generally, you're going to start by popping holes with an ice auger. You get them in a line, and you try to make basically a square out. I usually like to sit around 3 feet by 4 feet, somewhere around there. You get the holes as close together as you can. You use your ice saw to cut out the blocks, and then you have ice tongs that remove the ice blocks from the lake. Once you have that done, you set up an ice shack over said hole, and that really minimizes the light coming in and helps you see down into the water, and then it prevents shadows from casting over the hole to scare fish away. And then you have an actual spear. I mean, no different from what you imagine Poseidon's spear looking like. And there's different size tines. I know guys that use 1-tine spears. I like anywhere from 5 to 7 tines. And the cold rolled steel spears are probably the most sought after. They're handmade by guys. There's lots of time put into them. You can get like plasma cut spears where they take a sheet of metal and they cut a spear out of one piece of metal. Those are going to be a little bit cheaper made. They're still just as effective. And generally what you're trying to do is you're trying to coax the fish into your hole. And you're using any means that you can, whether it's the same means that you use for a tip-up. You can use a herring on a line. I prefer a decoy, it's called. And so pretty much guys will carve out a piece of wood shaped like a fish, put some metal fins into it, and you can just dance that around your hole. I know guys that use golf balls. They'll pretty golf balls up with shiners and paint them and put metal tips hanging from them, make them flashy. There's all sorts of things. I mean, pop cans. I'm not even joking. Guys will use soda cans and make them decorative. There's all sorts of things that'll attract pike into the hole. You're not necessarily getting them to come into your hole to try to strike. You're just trying to get their attention. So they come in, keep them entertained long enough to where you can drop a spear on them. And generally when you drop the spear, you want the tines to be in the water before you drop it. And you don't need much of a thrust depending on the weight of your spear. You give it a little bit of thrust behind it, but as long as you're over the fish, the weight of your spear is going to do all the work.
Yeah, I was gonna say right here. I mean, this Sitka jacket here. It's not hiding those Jason Momoa Aquaman shoulders. They're throwing a big old trident down hole at a 20-pound fish, right? Like that's my question. I haven't done it. highly interested in stoning a fish with a spear.
It does not take much effort or it does not take much effort or I guess much effort or weight behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of my fish that I've speared, I've literally just dropped the spear. Didn't throw much thrust behind it at all.
Didn't have to put too much hips into it.
Nope.
It's all technique.
Yep.
The technique. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so if you can get them closer to you, so the less water resistance you have from you to the fish, the better. So if you can coax that fish up by bringing so it's really, the hard thing about spearing is you're working two hands at once doing two different things. In one hand, you're coaxing the fish with your line, and the other hand, you have your spear getting ready to pummel that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to try and be able to work that fish up, and the higher you bring it up to the surface of the water, the more penetration you're going to have, I think.
And is it better to have two-man system? A
Yeah.
buddy
Doesn't hurt.
kind of lifting up.
But
Doesn't hurt. I've done
imagine
that before.
Yeah, unless your buddy's willing to give up photo cred
Right?
at the end.
Or you got your buddy who's trying to jig the fish in,
Oh.
and you keep trying to throw spears at the fish that
Right.
they're trying to jig. I've done that before.
So you basically need a third person who's just there to help, and then two guys, throwing spear.
I
right?
think what we need to take away from this whole Brian Peters story is we got this pike coming in. Austin will come out of nowhere, and you'll just see a spear come through.
I'm coming over the top.
Or an arrow.
Every man for himself. Sorry, guys. I got a little excited. I just had to. He wasn't even at the hole yet. What were you doing? I don't know. Instinct took over. I blew it. I'm sorry. I promise.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Two people. Do you take turns?
It makes time go by better, too. You could be sitting over a hole for 8 hours and not see much activity.
Who throws the spear first?
That's
Is it a rock,
between
paper,
you and the guy you're
scissors?
sitting with,
Is it
yeah.
a coin flip? Is it a...
Usually when we go, I'm running the crew, so I get first throw.
Okay.
But depending on who you're going with, that's a topic for discussion. I definitely.
That just sounds like a blast. I recently got a spear actually from you, Gavin, but it was made by a local guy. If you want to,
he doesn't really like to sell to the public very often. It was kind of funny. I just kind of heard about his name through other people that bought spears from him. And I contacted him for a meet and greet and just said, hey, man, I'm going to have this meet and greet. Lots of new people coming out. I'd like to showcase some of your spears for sale if you have anything available. And he said, I work on the slope. I do this as a hobby. Don't put my name out there. I'll give you some spears to sell, and we'll go from there. And that was several months ago, and I still got money and spears sitting in my garage for him, and he hasn't contacted me back. Like, he's just kind of laid back, and I'll call him Rauscher Spears. That's his last name, Rauscher. But he is at the point now where I still got 6 of these bad boys sitting in my garage, burning a hole in my pocket that someone could go to someone into a home. So I'm gonna post them on the page here on Facebook.
What's the price point of these bad boys?
$120.
Only $120, handmade.
Handmade spear.
This guy's giving them away.
Right? That's what I said.
Give them away.
That's what I said.
All the time and effort and energy, and if these are the OG implement of death for critters coming out of the ice.
I'm telling you what.
Hey, sign me up.
And there's nothing more.
I want one.
Right?
Yeah. Right now. You take Venmo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I want one.
Cool.
I'm in.
Wife takes Venmo.
Okay. We're gonna dial that up. That's
cool. Made a sale.
100%.
I got one. I took it out on the water. I dipped it in, but I've yet to
fish with it.
I've yet to pierce.
If I were to give advice on spearing in Alaska, I would say start at a lake that is extremely clear, good visibility. A good lake to start at, actually named in a lake, is Fire Lake in Eagle River. Mm-hmm. Very good lake to try.
I heard
easy
Fire
access.
Lake has a hammerhead problem.
It does. You're going to come across some big boys, though, too. I've come across some 20-plus this year.
Oh, wow.
They're out there, yeah. But your general range is going to be 16 to 20 inches. Hammer handles. Still plenty of meat there. And it's just good to get your start out there. If you're looking for serious fish, Big Lake. It's pretty clear water. I believe the next state record for pike will come out of Big Lake.
Stop.
He's naming it.
Yep.
Stop.
Calling it right now.
Calling it.
Yeah,
oh
next
my
state
God.
record will come out of Big Lake. And that's just from I've seen probably 4 fish close to 60 inches come out of that lake. Just from posts and people that I know that have caught them.
What is the state record?
38 pounds out of
That's an absolute giant.
Tributary of the Yukon. I forgot the name of it. It's a tributary out of the Yukon, but yeah, 38 pounds. Just a fatty.
So when I stoned that pike with the bow fishing setup, at the time they didn't have a bow caught state record for pike. I don't know
They
if
do now.
They do now.
My buddy Gino Grossum got it.
What is it?
Not very big, like 41 inches.
You would have.
How much weight? Yeah,
I think it was like
in the
20,
record.
22 pounds.
22 pounds. See, that's over than mine. And so I was 42, but I believe it was 19 or 20 pounds.
So because the lake it came out of, it didn't have the fish to keep up that weight on it. And then that's the thing I found in Alaska is Alaska has its own graph that actually tells you the age of a fish depending on how big it is. And the fish in Alaska at the same length, like a 40-inch fish in Minnesota would be 25 plus pounds easily. It could be 25 plus pounds easily. To where here, like my 40-inch fish, it was 39 3/4. It was 16 pounds.
Gotcha.
Right.
I mean, that's
They don't just have like the perch. And
they
the
don't have
bluegill
they don't have all that food coming in there.
The
You know, like
girth.
they do. The girth, yeah. So, but Big Lake can substantiate that. They got a salmon population, they got a trout population, they got every damn population of fish possible going into that lake, and that's why I think that it's going to come from there.
They got the length
Yep.
and the girth.
And the girth,
And
60
the
plus
girth.
inches, it'll come from
It's
that
all
lake.
about the girth.
They got an
So I've
NFL-sized lineman pike
Yep,
chilling there.
just waiting.
That's coming. He's calling it.
And
He's
that
calling it.
that 56 or 58 incher that was caught by a local guide this year was released back into that lake, so it's still floating around in there waiting to be caught again.
Wow.
In a lake like that, you can gain a couple inches a year, I guarantee it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that
okay.
lake
Sign
is
me
still
up for
legal
Big
to
Lake.
release pike in.
Oh man, this has been a revelation for pike.
So let's talk about summer strategies real quick before we get on to another. Or do you have a?
No.
Okay.
So sorry.
Let's kinda-
I can
I
go
gotta
there,
ring
dude. I'm
it-
excited.
Ring it in one more time. So we are in the winter, so we kind of are focusing on winter, but people may listen to this.
That's usually when I hit pike because I'm after salmon in the summertime, but there's
Yep.
plenty of fishing to be done for pike in the summer.
Myself, I'd like to go, right in that springtime before the salmon runs start.
Which is perfect because that's when they're spawning.
Hike in there. I use bass type fishing techniques when I go in. So throw rapalas, throw fish imitating type lures. Is that similar what you like to do?
So
I
it
like
depends on the lake, depends on the type of year, but I go back and forth. I really like the topwater frogs. Those work really, really well in certain lakes. Anderson's one of them. I think each lake is going to be different, and it's going to depend on the vegetation. It's going to depend on the food supply, the bug supply. All sorts of things are going to come into variables. Are they used to seeing topwater critters? Are they not used to seeing that? So I like to bring a variety of things with me and just start down the train and see what's coming. And usually I go with a group of guys, and we all try something different. And whoever's getting hits, we'll switch it up and go towards that. But in the summertime, I've really gone towards those storm baits, and it's just those imitation pike. And they love eating each other, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you throw out a little 4-inch pike in front of their face, they're going to smack it every time. And whether it's they're pissed off that it's in their territory or they're hungry, they're still going to smack it. So I really find that the cast and reeling comes with that. Again, you can, if you're coming across areas where you're not getting lots of movement, it doesn't hurt if you can visually sight fish them, just to plop a herring in front of them. It may take 20 minutes, it may take a half hour, but they're going to smack that herring eventually. All it takes is that pressure change.
a whole herring like under a bobber.
Yep.
Or,
And just
Gotcha.
let it chill.
So let it chill. And some scent wouldn't hurt. But they're just like me and you. They're gonna go for the easy target.
Mhm.
You know, we go and we see a moose that's up on a mountain 20 miles away, and we see a moose that's 2 miles away. We're gonna go after that 2-mile moose. I am. I'm hunting it.
You're right, yeah.
You know,
Get
Or,
that.
or more like stopping at McDonald's on the way
Right
out.
on the way out, exactly for that. Yeah. So I always hear guys try to say big bait, big fish, and that 40-inch pike that I caught was on a little tiny piece of a herring, and I think that a pike is not going to pass up a free meal just because it's small.
What size hooks are you doing? I know you're saying
I like those bigger hooks. I like the 3/4 inchers.
3/4 inch.
Yep. So I think it's like size 7.
and same line. during the summer? Or
With the
what's your
line in the
setup?
summer, I actually do go with the Power Pro because I don't have to hand line it. I'm using a reel. So I prefer the Power Pro. It's hand braided. It's very thin stuff, and you can get like a 40 to 50 pound test in a diameter of like 15 to 20.
So
Hand
braided line.
Hand braided.
Yeah.
Man, who does that? That must take a while.
I'm sure they got machines helping them, but that's how they list their, yeah, right? That's how they list
They
their
started
product.
it off.
Right?
See a guy with, magnifying glasses looking at it,
But it's really good stuff because you're getting like 50, 60 pound tests, but it's in the diameter of like monofilament 10 pound, 15 pound tests.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It makes a big difference.
It'll just buzz off
Oh,
your
it just
reel.
buzz out
You
there.
could
Oh, yeah.
cast
Yeah.
150 yards if you wanted to.
It's the same thing I use for snag and Sewards, reds, because you have no
stretch.
with no stretch. You have that memory when you're in that mono, and when you're ripping against yourself, you're literally working against yourself when you have mono because you have that memory in there or that stretch that's pulling against you and just
You got instant feedback.
Yep.
Get that feedback.
don't help you at all. Just like a stiffer rod is better because less pull. You have these guys out there with these extra soft rods, and they're bending them, and the rod's coming down, almost touching them. It's like, what are you doing right now, man?
I've never fished the Seward or the ocean snag. I haven't done it.
Oh, wow.
Haven't done it, guys.
Hey, have you checked out...
I know. I admit.
You haven't lived life yet,
Yeah.
my friend.
Have you checked out Prey on Adventures, How to Snag in Seward, Catch Your Limit?
I have.
Okay.
And saw that your beautiful bride over here was the fish champ.
Oh, she was?
And she was looking the part too with the waders, Sims waders, the fishy wear. I don't know what you were wearing, but I didn't remember it.
It wasn't memorable.
It wasn't
so
memorable.
It mattered.
But I looked for this.
Sorry to my sponsors. I wasn't memorable.
Right,
She looked way cuter, for sure.
For sure. So,
But, yeah, you got to do it, dude.
okay,
It's a
I'll check it out.
blast.
I'll check that out for sure. But snagging pike is pretty tough, right?
You could say fishermen do it, but
It's
they're,
tough.
they're very strong fish.
Legal?
Yeah,
Snag-
they're invasive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the
But-
same thing.
Yep.
But in the weeds and whatnot, like trying to, unless they're swimming between lily pads or something like that, you can really get a beat on them.
Gotcha.
And then, what boat are you in, or how are you doing this? Like,
And immediately what they want to do is just nestle down into those weeds when they do get hit. That's all they want to do.
Just bury.
do you boat fish? You shore fish? What do you do?
I usually shore fish, so I can get on with a boat on. If I do boat fish for pike in the summertime, it's Big Lake. Big Lake's got lots of action for pike in the summertime. You just have to know where to go.
Do you have a boat?
I do not, but it pays to have friends with boats.
Yeah. I got a little sport John, babe.
Right.
Little-
I know a couple
little-
spots out there.
Oh yeah, it's the 1660, 9065.
I think we're marking down some dates.
I think yeah.
Yep.
We're down to some dates. We're gonna go do
For
something
sure.
this
Right.
winter.
So
for
let's
sure.
what kind of I know you kind of stated a concluder earlier,
Ooh,
but let's
I got a couple.
okay.
So we've got a fact check on the Copper River. What's the Copper River like?
How many deaths?
How many deaths are on the Copper River? Or like, is it the most dangerous in North America? Most dangerous in North America? 7 deaths in the last 2 years.
7 deaths in the last 2 years.
Half of them were dip netting.
So half were on a boat and half were on
They basically
the shore.
do say if you fall in that river, you are dead.
If you don't,
Very
yeah.
few
if-
people fall in and live, even with life jackets on.
Yeah, even with yeah, it is the meanest river. That's why I'm
It's
like,
very
yeah,
mean.
let's get a personally used fishery dip down the Susitna, which is still, you fall in the Alaska rivers, they are tough. But the
Tough.
Copper River, you go down through that canyon.
You're
Good
shredded.
God, people are risking their
Yeah,
lives.
I'm getting adjusted by my chiropractor one day, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go dip it on the copper with us?" And I'm like, "You realize you're my chiropractor, right? Like, I ain't going scaling down a mountain, dude. You know who I am. Like, I can't do that."
He just wanted some more business.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, "What are you trying to get out of me? A free massage, more
working it.
massages, or what?"
Working it. Is this altitude is this my brother, Altitude Chiropractic? August Manelick?
No, this is over there, back neck center, over off of Main Street.
I gotta say.
Next time.
Well, yeah, I know you have your relationships, but I know a guy, and if you go in there and drop a line on the forums, how'd you hear about us?
Hot tip.
Hot tip. Somebody told me that you would hook it up like a tow truck. That is some free adjustment care. That's my signal to my brother. So now, if the 20 listeners, 100 listeners, how many are listening?
The one guy.
If you're
The
our,
one guy.
our mom, my mom, your mom,
yeah,
maybe Gavin.
yes,
Now we might have increased to 3 listeners with this guest.
right. So just saying, hook it up like a tow truck. You'll get hooked up for sure.
I like it.
It's like a massage, and then definitely some adjustments in there. And I'm not sure what he does. So, he'll take care of you.
Cool.
So, we got the Copper River taken care of. The spear, need to get that taken care of as well. Like my last concluder, I got a theory. I have a small theory. This is on where the Kings went. Everyone's like, oh, it's the trawlers, it's the blob, it's the ocean heating up. It's the sport fishermen catching the fish off their beds. I've got a theory. We're talking about these poisons killing everything in the lake, right? And Alaska going in cycles as far as like bugs. I remember, I've went up and fished on the Squintna before and a few rivers off of there, and the bugs will carry your ass away to this day. They are bad. But the last time I went up and I was fishing a few of those rivers, Kings were as strong as ever, where it was like, yeah, we just caught and released 25 kings between 2 people. Couldn't keep them, but it was like every other cast, oh, missed one. We were like, oh my Lord, this is what Alaska used to be.
Which year was that?
The last year that you could.
So 2016.
So was it last year? I don't know. Yeah. Since having a kid, I got like baby brain or whatever. Maybe it's all the contact sports.
That was my last year of good king fishing. Was
Right.
2016.
So now in years past, and you go locally on the Deshka, you go some of these other places, Clear Creek, Talkeetna. There's not that many bugs. There's not that many bugs there. And I have been there when there was a lot of bugs. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? It seems like the bugs, real bugginess. So I don't know if that is as far as the theory goes.
So you think
the bugs
the key is
feeding
the bugs.
the fry, or, feeding a lot of food in the river, and them having a higher survival rate, and kind of
Everything's 7 years back too, right? It's a 7-year fish, so it's all.
See,
Yeah.
that's where it's coming. So that's my theory. That's my concluder on where the Kings and what's happening. My personal spin. I haven't ran that by anybody. People probably laugh me out of the building if I mention that anywhere else.
Bring it up to the BOF meeting, see what they say. It's the bugs!
It's the bugs, man.
It's a good theory. I like it.
We need bug control.
We need more of them.
If you're the guy that's rooting for more
mosquitoes.
I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
You're gonna be
More
flogged
food.
out of that room.
More food
This
for the
guy's
little guy.
this guy's gonna introduce more mosquitoes.
What we really need is some MGH, mosquito growth hormone, where
you go.
you beef up the
Big
mosquitoes,
old fat mosquitoes.
and then it beefs up the fry, and then the fry go to the ocean, and they're already
Mouse-sized
enhanced.
mosquitoes.
right. Just got these buff
Little
salmon
bats riding around.
going down, small fins. They're just a meat
Just a
brick.
tank.
That could work.
That's my theory. We're talking about spending money. We need MGH, mosquito growth hormone. Get the mosquitoes bigger or more mosquitoes to thicken up the fry.
Right?
All right.
And then they just take down the pike. Maybe they'll start eating the pike.
I think we've taken your concluder privileges away.
Okay. And I'm really actually happy for Burbot. Burbot have been, all joking aside, Burbot have been a really cool cast and blast set line. That's been something that's kept me going the last couple of years since we can't cast and blast. Go and catch your king in the middle of the day when the lull is long for your black bear baits. So thank you, Burbot. Let's figure out the Kings. Let's not persecute the pike necessarily. It sounds like we need to get some proposals in from you as far as how we do this. And man, I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And you guys coming out. So thank you very much.
Definitely.
So my concluder is, first and foremost, thanks Gavin for coming out, and anybody who hasn't joined the Northern Pike Fishing of Alaska, great group of guys, constantly sharing tips, techniques, spots. They talk about the meet and greets.
Yep.
You go if you haven't gone to a meet and greet yet, you could go out there and they will show you how it's done.
You spot the gear too.
Spot the gear. So go on Facebook, Northern Pike Fishing of Alaska, like them, follow, and be part of an Alaskan community of people that are just coming together and helping each other out. Like Gavin said, you could join, and if you're 65, you could feel like you're 12 again.
Yep.
And that's got to be a good feeling.
Oh,
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I'll tell you what.
fountain of
Made my
youth.
And secondly, I think, or my final concluder, I think we need to set us up a little Alaskast trip.
We need to do this again, and it needs to be soon, and then it also needs to be in the summer. So we need a flavor of both fire and ice.
I like it. So those are my concluders. Oh, and if you haven't checked out Mission Alaska yet, hop on there, check out Mission Alaska. If you haven't checked out Pran Adventure, we got lots of how-to videos on there. Check that out. And I'll give it to Gavin.
Appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun being on here, and I think my final note would be if you're looking to do something in the wintertime, get yourself off the couch and want to enjoy the great outdoors. I think any ice fishing is great in Alaska. I think the ADFG goes out of their way to make sure we have stocked lakes for kids.
Absolutely.
We have not just stocked lakes, but we have natural water lakes like Big Lake. There's several guides out there that'll get you out there if you don't know what you're doing, if you have the money to spend. Drill Team 6 is a really big one. Those guys are great. Alaska Fishing Guides is another great one. There's just several really great communities out there and groups of people that really get you out and really get you on the fish and kind of show you what's going on. I think that starting off can be a little tough, money-wise, getting yourself into the swing of things. So trying to kind of take it one step at a time. Get yourself a pole, get yourself an auger, get yourself this, that, kind of build it up and try and get into a group of guys that'll kind of get you out, and you guys can kind of share the responsibilities of the stuff that it takes. And one last note that I want to add that I learned actually about 2 weeks ago now, was really cool, and I did not know this, but Pike have a bone in their gill plate called a chlorethra. And the chlorethra is kind of essentially like a ring in a log on a tree. It'll tell you how old the pike is if you remove this bone, and it has a growth plate ring on each year that it passes that it grows. So I've been wanting to say that all podcast. I thought that was a pretty cool little thing that I learned. It'll completely show you exactly how old this pike is that you just caught.
That's wow. That's incredible.
Spike.
Pike.
This one, you said pike.
Oh, pike, yep. So it's just a little bone right inside their gill plate. You rip it out. It's called the chlorethra, and it has growth ring plates on it. And so each ring is a year.
Oh, wow.
I thought you were naming one that
do
you
you-
know.
Right?
Spike is actually the next world
Can
record
you
that
see-
you caught released. You let them grow.
Can you see the rings with your naked eye? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you see with your
Wow.
naked eye, and you can remove it without any tools at all. I mean, a knife would probably make it a little bit easier, but you can rip them right out.
Wow.
And I also posted a how-to on my pike page on how you remove that bone.
Check it out. And if you like what we're doing, leave us a review. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, where it should be on all the pod players. And if we made a mistake, if Austin said something bad or you don't agree with,
Fact check me hard.
fact check, send us an email, the alastcast@gmail.com, TheAlaskast@gmail.com.
And you can
And if I spelled that wrong, fact check me.
fact check. Yeah, definitely. Keep it honest. Keep it real. You can find us on Mission Alaska's YouTube page. You'll be able to find us on a link on the missionak.com, the Alaskast. All the episodes will be listed there. And this is just the beginning. We're going to be partying with Gavin and our gals out on the water before you know it, and probably drinking some more space dust and telling more fish stories.
Right.
'Cause,
Northern Pike, Alaska also has 2 meet and greets coming up. One on February 15th for Figure 8, which is a snow machine trip only, and then one on Long Lake, which is going to be going on during the Iditarod. So we'll be able to fish for pike and have the Iditarod go right past us.
Wow, good idea. That's perfect.
Yep.
Sweet.
Check it out.
It all starts with one cast, and as we all know, it ends with one last cast.
Last cast.
Cheers, gentlemen. Thanks. It's fun.